All right. How's everybody doing this evening? Can you guys hear me okay? I pressed F it to get a great start as usual. Oh, good. Thank you. All right. Hey, we're going to have some fun tonight. Mark Babitz is back. If you remember him from last Saturday night, he is the one and only. And he'll be coming on here very shortly. Just a little bit of housekeeping to start us off this evening. I am working on a schedule for this week. I will have Radix Ferrum on Saturday night, and we will be doing a benefit for V Radio on Sunday, which is gonna be great. Not exact start time yet, but I think it's gonna be kind of an afternoon thing, afternoon to evening thing, and we're gonna help raise money to build him a ramp for his house since he's having some issues, and so that's a good thing. And he's a great guy, and we are happy to do that for him. So we'll be doing that Sunday. Be a big gang of us here, and we'll be jumping through hoops and doing whatever we need to do to help raise some money for our good friend V Radio. All right. So by the way, mods tonight. Okay, we're probably gonna have some guests, right? Some visitors. However, I want to be sure that we're all talking on the same level here. So, Umbrella Man, no Umbrella Man, no October Rains, but Monograph, yes. So if Monograph wants to show up on his real account and talk to us, we're not gonna try to do anything to it. I just want to talk to the real mastermind there and not a character. So that's the rule for that as far as tonight goes. If he wants to come in and have some words, that's great, but not under any kind of alias. Okay, so we're just going to go with Monograph the man, Monty. We all know Monty, and if he wants to do that, just let him know. And in fact, you can say, if Umbrella Man shows up, say, hey, Winning asks that you come in as Monograph, and we'll talk to you later, Umbrella Man. And he can speak freely through his main account. Yes, he can. All right, so that's all I have to say about that. You know what I'm saying? And let's see, we got to get this ready because you know how we do it here. We always got to play our intro for our guests, and I make sure the audio is on because I'm a good host. I do my best here. All right, here we go. All right, and let's go.
Well, I'm not the kind to kiss and tell, but I've been seen with Farrah. I've never been with anything less than a man so fine. I've been on fire with Sally Field, gone past with a girl named Bo, but somehow they just don't end up as mine. It's a death-defying life I lead. I take my chances. I die for living in the movies and TV. But the hardest thing I ever do is watch my leading ladies kiss some other guy while I'm bandaging my knee. I might fall from a tall building, I might roll a brand new car, 'cause I'm the unknown stuntman that made Red Hook such a star. I've never spent much time in school, but I've taught ladies plenty. It's true, I hire my body out for pay. Hey, I've gotten burned over Cheryl Teague's, blown up for Raquel Welch. But when I wind up in the hay, it's only hay. Hey, I might jump an open drawbridge or Tarzan from a vine, 'cause I'm the unknown stuntman that makes Eastwood look so fine.
All right, welcome to the stream. Mark, how's it going?
Real good. How you doing? It's a pretty funny thing.
Good, man. Welcome back. Yeah, we like to have fun here for sure.
Now, only one question. Now, it sounds, I watched I heard your introduction, and you talked in regards to Monty / Monograph / Umbrella Man. But isn't it kind of, I don't know, isn't it double jointed to kind of say you can come in as Monty and Monograph, but you can't come in as Umbrella Man? Because technically they're all, who the hell knows who this guy really is? I just think we should welcome in as whoever he wants to be tonight. We're in a world where people identify differently from night to night. You know what I'm saying? And I think out of sensitivity, we should just invite this brother in or sister, whichever we're dealing with her, as just a friend. You know, if he
Well,
or he
well,
she
I certainly agree with you. And the thing about it is that each one of his personas
identities,
has identities
ident-
has a different persona to it. And the Umbrella
exactly.
Man is usually the very aggressive psychopathic
Yes,
kind of like,
you're seeing it.
in
You're
yeah,
seeing it. The Sibylle kind of,
yeah.
kind of got a kind of style flex with this person. I shouldn't even say man or female because I don't
He's
know.
the very dangerous, physically dangerous one, I guess. Out
Well,
of them both.
he presents himself live on his little podcast where he shows his face, which looks similar to the guy in the original Elan thing. But then he goes and puts a mask on when he comes here. It's like, I'm saying the guy who kind of like dresses up at night in different clothes and goes out. It's just, I don't know. It's an observation. I'm not judging by any means. Not judging.
Oh yeah, I don't think you are.
No, never would judge Monty or whatever he's traveling as today. Or whomever
Yeah.
he's traveling as.
Well, his monograph channel has been around since before Google owned YouTube. Like it's been around a long time.
Now, is that before Roy Marshall or was it after Johnny Quest or whatever he was? 'Cause remember, he's changed spacesuits a few times here when he's gone from place to place.
Yeah,
That's before or after the name change. And then you question whether or not you're talking to a guy or a female or somebody in between because most guys don't get their names changed unless they're on the run. I mean, it's just kind of simple that way. Girls, that's the fact of life. They change their names because of marriages or whatever. But most guys don't change their names, even with adoption. Even adoption, your name's always going to be Roy. Even if somebody adopted you, it's going to go from Roy Marshall to Roy Smith, but it's not going. The first name's not going to get lost. So it's kind of odd.
It is odd, and I'm limited in my experience with such things, but you being a very worldly experienced person, having done a lot in your life, and also having been a bounty hunter,
Right.
it's not just a song. You actually did the job.
Yeah,
You've seen this stuff a lot.
You chase gambling debts and stuff like that. So I learned how to locate people and find people. And the most elusive would be a woman, which I never collected money or checked on women. That's not it's a total different kind of guy. But the men I've always aliases were always there for a reason. They weren't because of any other reason, but a reason. And normally it's because you're on the run. Because otherwise there's nothing wrong with your name unless you have issues. Otherwise, who cares? Why would you change your name from anything to anything? I mean, like Jeff said the other night, unless it was Lipschitz, and excuse me, anybody named Lipschitz, but I mean, I can't see any other. And I've met people some pretty strange names, and they've carried them all through life and never fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never even known a Mike Hunt to change his name.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is.
It's like the boy named Sue. It works for you. It's cool. You made it through school. It must have been all right.
Yeah. Well, what's really confusing too, I guess, in the grander scheme of things, is like when you try to put the puzzle together, there's a there's a stepfather thing going on that's in there, but the time span between that and supposedly his trip to Elan would only have been so many years, and if it's adoption, then you get the last name. But you wouldn't just change your name without an adoption in that situation as a kid. It's really strange.
Well, legally, you could. You'd have to have one of the parents sign off to adopt one way, whether one way or the other, the mother or the father. But yeah, the one parent would have to sign off and say, "No, I don't want it," and you'd have to have a court approve it. It's just it's a pretty far fetched story, but it could be true. Who knows? I doubt it.
It could be. It could be. The only thing that would really is really going to satisfy that is, if he decides one day to just tell us straight up what it is, instead of like have a maze of questions to go through.
Sadly to say, with characters like him, though, sometimes they get so confused in their personalities that they maybe forget who they really are. He might be in denial on his birth certificate if he even has it. Himself might not even know anymore who he really is. That's why I say reach out to this poor guy. I mean, he's obviously suffering from some damn thing.
Yeah. I would like to. That's why I came to the. We found the Elan group was because we were trying to find a group of survivors that would help. Perhaps what we thought at the time was a rogue or a missing or a lost survivor that needed needed some group, man, because
Right,
group
right.
keep you
Just
straight.
somebody to talk to. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it keeps you on the, it keeps you it helps you maintain, because
Well,
everybody's dealing with shit.
well, when you find out he's attacking people like Lee Veldon too, and Lee Veldon has absolutely nothing to do with Elan. He works in the teen program, but he was in a totally different place, a totally different state. I mean, he has no we're friends with Lee, but he has no connection to us. And Elan survivors, we don't stalk people. We don't troll people. I mean, survivors, if you haven't figured it out by now, we're very blunt to the point. We want you to know who's mad at you. We want you to know who's telling you what's going on, because we were brought through such a confrontational program that we don't know any different. And especially if you're a survivor, you know exactly where we're coming from. There's no gray area in your mind. You know when you're being checked. So why would you be tampering with Lee Veldon of all people? There's no reason for it. He's a good guy. He does his thing. He helps out with the teen industry, recognizing the abuses. And why sit there and beat up on a guy like that? It doesn't make sense. That's how you know he's a troll. That's kind of how you know.
Yeah, well, that he fabricates reasons to do it.
There is no reason to do it though. What does Lee do? Lee fights against teen abuse. What's wrong with that? Him and 500,000 other people out there. It's a big deal.
And Lee didn't go. Lee wasn't part of Elan. He was part of another program.
Yeah, right? I forgot what it was. I think it was in Utah or someplace like that. But no, we bumped into Lee throughout the travels, throughout our closing down Elan and stuff like that. I mean, we picked up a lot of people from a lot of other communities while we were doing this, because we were so loud on the internet. The other communities saw us sparking up and doing stuff. All of a sudden, a lot of people want to start doing things. They want to start doing documentaries and writing books and getting their word out there. And that's why we tag other organizations with us, is because we want them recognized too. We want to give them a voice. That's how we bumped into Lee. And Lee's just, he's a harmless guy.
Was Lee part of the Fortis group, because the Fortis board? Because I feel like a lot of it started there.
He could have been. I think he was down south somewhere. I want to say it was south is where he was at. I'm not for sure. I mean, we really never talked about that much. I know his name. I know him from around. I've talked to him a couple times on the phone. He's, like I say, he's a harmless guy. He's got his targets and his venture. What he's looking for, and I got mine, and we're the same as that goes. And he's gruff. He's hard like I am, but he's not out to hurt anybody. And when he told me that Monty was screwing, I'm like, how the hell does he even know Monty? What the hell? Was this guy just go all these survivor groups and just start screwing with people?
I don't know. It was a shock to me. It came to me through another survivor from Elan, and I was shocked. I was like, what? And evidently it goes years back. I'm like, wow.
Right. Well, Ann Passion was telling me about him. And Ann Passion's the survivor when Phil Williams got beat to death. And that's the one that I kind of brought out and got into the newspapers a little bit with some of the articles. And I was talking to her yesterday or today, and she said something about Lee Veldon and this Monty guy. Because I said something to her. I said, how did Lee Veldon connect with this Monty? All that monograph guy? And I said, yeah. She goes, I don't know. She goes, Lee's talked about him, though. So the guy's just a menace. He just comes around and just starts bothering people. So I don't know. It's, I say embrace him, hug him, tell him you love him, and he'll be fine. He'll be okay. One day he'll give a rips with himself.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. And one day, too. One day someone will write that story for him, and it's like, that's what I was trying to tell him as well, was like, hey, look, you may want to just go ahead and, do the live story here with somebody that'll do it. I would do it non-biased. It's like, what do you want to, as long as it's the truth, it checks all out, and this is the real deal, we're good. But, have the story be told. It's an interesting story.
Yep.
Nonetheless, the motivations and the outcomes aren't that savory, but the whole backstory, the whole lore of this, this decade and a half long adventure as this internet troll would be interesting. I think people would find it interesting, or at least in the bizarre sense, But hey, why not?
The tales of a troll. Hey, he's not uncommon. He's very well recognized. There's many of them out there. That's
the point. Yeah, it's like he's the top dot. He's the top guy. He's like the top.
You embrace yourself with the trolls. You see it because you see both of his personalities. You see the one when he's doing monograph, and you can actually see who he is, And then you see this little devious kind of goofball trolling in on a website that for what reason? You come on this podcast to do what? Call people stupid? Wow, that makes you look like you got it together. I mean, for sure. And then you go on your other podcast, you look like you're a person of knowledge and influence, and you know things, and you're talking about banking industries and such and that. And how do you go from being so stupid to so intelligent? I don't understand. I mean, it's got to be a split personality. That's all I can guess. I'm not a doctor.
It is. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it is strange, and like you can also, it can also almost seem like there's two different people there in a sense. I mean,
oh, there's a
definitely
group.
gonna have some different looks.
I think there's a group of people in there. There's multiple people in there. It's not a
But
one band. No, it's not two guys in a bathroom. No, there's a bunch of people up there. It depends who comes out.
yeah, well, he
You
says
know,
he's getting help now, but I guess as a result of the court stuff that's going on and whatnot, and he seems like he's talking like my doctor says this, my doctor says that's good. I'm happy. I hope this works out for him. I hope something comes out of it where he can kind of like figure out, well, hey, God, I've had this condition for so long, and look at the way I was, and
he
that's
could be
not who I am, and
he could
who
be
I want
doing
to
a
be.
podcast next week, dressed up as Betty Smith. Who knows? Who knows? Monty's wife.
Right?
Mrs. Monty. Who knows? You don't know. This guy, he goes with anything that he thinks is going to upset people. But when you can find the jest in it and the fact that he really is a lost individual, and most trolls are, I mean, that's why you would troll somebody, because you really got nothing better to do with your time. They kind of lose interest in you then. You're not fun no more for them. They want to see you on guard all the time and upset. Well, for what? You're some nut
Well,
job. Some nut job.
the unfortunate thing is he takes his job way too seriously sometimes,
Well, that's
and
part of
wants to
fun.
interfere with people's life in real life.
But that's
And
his goal.
yeah,
That's the goal. That's his adrenaline. His adrenaline is keeping you sparked off. It's like when we were shutting down Elan. We were all of us. There was about 8 of us in the group I was in. There was a couple other groups of people, but we would get so intense in this stuff, man. We would stay up 12, 13 hours a day, screwing around on the internet, doing this, doing that, doing this, calling each other. It became like it was an obsession, and you lived and breathed it. That's probably the only reason it really worked, is because we did obsess. We did obsess for a bunch of years. But that's what this guy is. He's obsessed.
it takes obsession. It takes obsession, to do anything.
We fed off the drama. We fed off the reactions, the reactions. We fed off of this stuff. You looked at Fornits. We'd feed off of that stuff.
Yeah, I want to take everybody back into the beginning here, because that's where we're at. And I know in my research I was able to find the beginning, and then find you and all the things that you have done through that as well, by researching Elan. But the Fortis board is an important part of this whole story, and this is one of the big reasons we got Mark back here to talk tonight, was that we wanted to hear about the origins of how this group came together and the amazing things they did and how they did it. Because how they did it, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to find this incredibly clever and smart and forward thinking and solution oriented. I mean, I can't tell you, I've said it in the description, but I can't express to you that this story is a perfect example of the types of things I'm talking about when I'm talking about solution culture. This is an example of a group of people that had a common goal, that saw a problem that needed to be fixed, they're all well aware of, and they came together in their respective talents to synergetically, and without real leadership or a defined plan or anything like that, just an idea, right? And they came together and they were effective, and they produced results. So Mark, I'm going to hand it over to you at this point. Take us back to the beginning and tell us all about it.
Well, it really started out as just a group of people at a place called MySpace back then. It was back 2008, 7, something like that. And it was just a group of people. And the first thing we established is the fact that we're not going to have a leader. There is not going to be a boss. We're going to be a group. We're going to do this together. And each one of us all had our own little skill sets. We all did different things, and we knew how to do this. We had people who knew the internet, how to do websites, how to get us out there. We had people like myself that was more the pavement pounder, go up there, cause trouble, rattle their cages up. They're not physically, but mentally, and start this and start some investigations and cause some waves. And we used Fornits. There was a website called Fornits. And Fornits was like a big shout box. It still is. So you go on Fornits and you can just say what you want, do what you want. It's the best place in the world. There is no therapy rooms or safe spaces on Fornits. If you can't handle it, don't go on Fornits. There's a caution sign before you even enter the door. It's not for thin-skinned people. But we ran around that site. I had the longest running thread, I think, in Fornits history. I think it still is, called Elan Forum on New Policies, I think is what it was. And it was just the most chaotic, crazy, bantering back and forth, publishing of articles and descriptions. And it was total chaos. It was absolute chaos. And what you need to bear in mind is we shut Elan down without any money. We didn't use any money really to speak of, outside like me traveling up there and stuff like that. And some of the stuff I put out, but there was really no money. And we took out a multi-million-dollar corporation. And we did it because everybody had their own little place. And that's what we did, is we did our own little jobs as a group. And we put on such a shit show on one end for all of them to see. And we made sure they could see this thing. Where in the meantime, we're over on MySpace, personal phone calls, communicating, getting together, grouping, figuring out what the next moves are going to be, what we should try, what we should do, blah, 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 blah. And they just didn't know what to do. So while they were busy looking out the front door, we were piling through the back door. By the time it was done, they threw the keys up in the air, literally, and ran into the woods. When they left those places, to this date, you can walk back there and you'll see the same books, same everything. It's like the most creepy time capsule you can walk into.
Yeah,
Literally,
absolutely.
even Parsonsfield, the purple drapes are still on the windows. It's bizarre. But
I've seen the people that have walked through there. Now, what is the general idea that's out there on the internet about how Elan got shut down, and then what is the actual thing that happened?
Well, it was a group of people. Then it was a guy named Sean out of Canada. He knows the internet real well. He does that webcomic stuff, and he's very good at that stuff. So he got Reddit's involved. Somehow he got on Reddit's. I have no idea how. And he published this statement and this and that and blah, 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 which was a conglomeration of everybody. Because G's My Hero was, in fact, like 9 people. And we all shared the password. So
and G's My Hero was the account that was on Reddit.
Yes. And so you really didn't know who the hell you were talking to. You thought you knew it, but, it was like a bot. And and that's where a lot of it got started. And Reddit was a group at the time. I think it was, I'd never even heard of Reddit before that, so I don't even know if Reddit was new then or it's not, but it's one of those publishing companies that it gets the word out there, and it just happened to catch the right eyes and the right ears, and things really started kicking off,
Hey, Mark, did you want the Facebook group's profile link out there? I see that it's up, but I know that's mainly for survivors, so I just wanted to kind of.
Well, there's a number of sites out there for Elan survivors. I have about 5 of my own, and most of them are closed. I got the Elan Museum, which very few people I let in, and that gives you the back history of Elan to where I don't need to talk. Just read as long as you could possibly read, and it's all documents and facts and recordings of investigations. It's truly it's for a person looking to do a documentary or a book on Elan, that's probably the place to look. Because anything that means anything, it's there. And these are all documents that are gone by now. Nobody has copies of this stuff. Even these are 50, 60-year-old copies, not 50, say 60, but 50-year-old copies, 45-year-old copies. So, yeah, no, there's none of that stuff around anymore.
If you're okay with people like coming by the group, that is.
Oh yeah, we want people to come around. We want people to look at things and see what's going on, because especially younger people, because they have kids. And so, kids can push you to the end of your ropes. And there's places like this out there. And like Jeff said the other day, they're just better dressed. They're not as obvious. And again, parents are at the end of their wits. So they'll believe anything somebody tells them. And whatever the kids has to say, you've been lying to them for the last 12, 13, 14 years. Well, they'll listen. They don't believe anything you're saying. And as Joe said, it was the last stop before jail or whatever, so.
Gotcha. Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt. So the movie The Last Stop really credits Reddit as kind of the catalyst, if it will, but the build up to the Reddit post and the actual person that was posting that was not one person. This is not a person. This was
it was a build up of a lot of people. Matt Hoffman, myself, Sharon McCarthy, Wayne Perchonen. there's a number of people. Some people's names don't want to be mentioned, so I'll never mention them. But yeah, there was a whole group of people because you see the absence in Reddits of all the documents. Well, the documents all came from one person. And so, but then again, that wasn't my job. My job wasn't to be on Reddits. My job was to focus on what I was doing, gather documents, gather information, shake people down for information, go up and interview people in Maine. That was my focus. Go to the racetrack, see what I could stir up around there and cause trouble. My job wasn't to be on the internet. That's so that was somebody else. And that's really how the plans all worked so well. Is everybody stayed in their wheelhouse. We didn't try to, go over places and do stuff because you screw it up. And when you're dealing with these places and places like this, your credibility is the only thing you have to even get anybody to believe some of these just outlandish, crazy stories you're telling. So if you get caught in a lie or fabricating or going over with something, and people won't believe anything else you got to say, and it's hard enough to get to believe you from the beginning. So it's crucial that everybody does what they do and doesn't try to do anything else but that. And Sharon, she recruited the women, a lot of the women survivors. She worked well with them. We had another guy worked well with the younger crowds because we had to get all the years together. So like I said, there was a numbers of people. We just used a couple different stage names and, hey, believe whatever you want, man. All we know is the doors are shut. That we know. And when you're really looking at Elan history, you're only going to see really so many names that really pop up all the time. They're always there. No matter what you see, there's certain names here all the time. The best part of Elan is after they closed, how we just continue to go after them. Got the horse barn shut down at the racetrack, just caused them total misery throughout. Their last years were just hell, just absolute hell. So I don't know. I guess if you read the articles and you read this and you read that, you kind of know who really did the charging. But, it's really not about who closed it. It's about it's closed. It'd be selfish to say one person or no, that's not how it is. We are all one group. We're all one person. There's no one. There's no leader or boss. It isn't like that. We do what we got to do. Some do things a little bit better than others, and that's what they do.
Working in a very emergent way, which is a natural ordering system that we all can tap into.
Mm-hmm.
And this really just, being the epitome of that in this situation. And it goes to show that even when a tyrant is ruling for many, many decades and profiting from it and seems untouchable and seems all powerful, that when the right group comes together, that reign of terror is over.
It's what you set in your mind. You have to set in your mind the number one, you're never going to give up and you never quit. Then you got to set in your mind, what are my limitations? And be honest with yourself. What are my limitations? What are my skill sets? What do I do the best? Well, I can't track nobody down, or I don't know how to really walk up and shake somebody down or get information from a perfect stranger, do interviews. But boy, I'll tell you what, I can push the keys on that internet. And if I want to put something on the web, it's going viral in 20 minutes. You know what I do? I work on the web. And I let somebody else do that. If I don't communicate well with others, and I'm not really a friendly sort of person, I really don't have communication skills. But you got this one guy over, he can be a perfect stranger and be married in 15 minutes. That's the guy who talks to everybody. And that's how Matt Hoffman came in. Matt's very good with everybody. He speaks well, he's kind, he's friendly, he's from Virginia. He's just a nice guy.
Now
Matt,
just for Matt was in the Last Stop, correct?
Yes, he was the other researcher.
Which one was he? So everybody that watched it can tell.
No, physically, Matt and me were never in the documentary because we went.
No, I mean, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Matt Hoffman physically was never in the documentary.
Okay.
No, we were just researchers. That's what we did. We gave all the information up to a lot of interviews. Matt kept a lot of the groups together, keeping the pages going. Like I say, he's a super friendly guy. Knows how to communicate well. He's long-winded. He remembers. This guy has a memory like an elephant, literally like an elephant. This guy can give you days and dates off the top of his head so fast. It's just like, wow, how do you retain these things? So he was a big gift to the group, and a real anchor for the closings. And Elan knew that. They knew a lot of us people. When I got these one set of files out there, it was probably 10 years ago. There was a blacklist in there, believe it or not, of Joe Ritchie's files out of his house, and Matt Hoffman was on that blacklist with a few other people of rabble rousers and trouble causers. from all of his years on the internet, going out there and shooting his mouth off and doing this and doing that. He was recognized by Joe Ritchie, recognized enough to be in the little black file of people are what they call them, disruptors. And that his name and there was a couple other people's names that are recognized. My name, for some reason, I never got on the list. But yeah, Matt was another. He was a key person in the whole organization. You know, he really was. He still is. You know, it's
Awesome.
it's every, like I say, every place stays in their position, and you can nobody can beat you. You know, nobody does everything good by themselves. We all need something. Multitasking, you can multitask to a level, but then proficiency, you do what you do best, and nobody can beat you. Nobody can beat you.
Absolutely, and I think that if I remember correctly from our conversations in that model, there's like no drama going on.
No, no drama at all.
Lesson we could all learn these days, for sure. Now, so the actual reason Elon gave for shutdown was that the bad publicity, right?
Right. Internet campaigns and low enrollment, which obviously internet campaigns lead to low enrollment. One equals the other.
Right, and by the end, they had made a bunch of changes to try to save their organization reputation, but there was still a good amount of abuse going on there.
Joe Ritchie was dead. So, I mean, Sharon Terry realized that, you know what, this can't go on forever. This is ridiculous. Elan, for every year they were open, they were sued at least twice a year. When you divide out the lawsuits, they were sued every year, twice a year for the 40 some years they were open. That's a statistic.
Which goes to show you how well the court systems work to shut down things like that.
Well, you know, Illinois pulls kids out of there. Then years later, they're sending them back through the school system. So, I mean, did anybody read the memo? I mean,
right?
Same with Rhode Island, Massachusetts. The state itself wouldn't send you, but they'd get IEPs on you from the schools, and the schools would refer you there. So the state still paid, but they didn't pay through Department of Services. They paid through the Department of Education. It was mind blowing. But then there was so much kickback and stipends on this stuff to where these people got paid to send people there. Every kid you send up there, I'll send you $250. You're quick to send people there. And most of these people, they really didn't realize where they were sending these people until it was too late to do anything about it. Because again, these kids were disruptive. They're in high school. They just don't want to listen. They don't get it. You're at the end of your ropes. Get this kid the hell out of here. And you don't care either. All you know is you got 400 kids in this school, and this one here just don't seem to fit in. See, it's in a land of misfit kids. And the way they publicize the place, if you look at some of the brochures I put out there, I put out original brochures of the place. You thought you were going to Camp Shangri-La. I mean, horseback riding and fishing and hunting. And boy, this is going to be great. No.
Right? All kinds of team building.
You're in the state of Maine. You're probably one of the most beautiful states in the country, but you never got a chance to even see what that looked like. And the place was so intense and so constant that it was almost like the sun never came out. I know it's crazy, and that's obviously not true. You know, the sun did come out, but your mind was always so clouded with just the chaos and the bullshit, the 24-hour a day, that sometimes you didn't know where it was day or night. You didn't know what the hell was going on. You were just kind of just zombieing through the program. And, you know, it's crazy. There was no wildlife. Anybody tells you there was wildlife there, they're lying to you. There was no wildlife around it. It scared all the animals away because of all the noise. Because the lawn sat like on a hill, but yet it was right on top of a lake. So it was like a gully. And you had to echo across that lake you wouldn't believe. And there was articles in the newspapers, I think I published some years ago too, that the people in the area, the hunters, they were all upset because there was no game. And Maine's one of the biggest hunting states too in the United States. So I mean, that's a place people they go to that state. That's like a mecca for hunting. No animals. They were afraid to come around, which would really surprise you. Where Elan's facilities were at, we're in the dense woods of Maine. So to not see moose or deer or squirrels or rabbits was, you know, for a guy from the city, you weren't shocked by it. But for somebody in the country, I mean, these people, I didn't notice it really or understood it until after I was long gone out of there. But thinking back now, for somebody from that area, they must have wondered too, where all the animals at? They wouldn't come around because of the noise.
So, interesting story about the how you got the racetrack shut down, Scarborough Downs. Now that if you know horse racing, you've definitely heard that name before, and you maybe even have seen it on TV growing up. But talk a little bit about that and how that went down.
Well, the Downs is that was the other facility that Joe bought that about it was 1979. I think he paid $3,000-$4,000 for it. And the long and the short of it is Sharon Terry had it at the end. So by the time we closed the line, that was like the only really cash cow they had going on. Well, I knew a little bit about horses. I know a little bit about horses, not a lot. But I do know one thing about horses from working on the farms when I was a kid. I used to go up to upstate New York. We had friends that had race horses, and I used to have to work in the barn shoveling the stuff and everything else. I knew how you had to deal with the horse shit. And this is no joke. And I knew it had to be spread, and I knew this because we used to always rake it out of the barns, and they put it in the back of this big manure spreader in the back of this tractor, and they go on the field there, and they spread it out. And I obviously asked, why did they do that? And they explained it. Well, Scarborough Downs had this stuff stacked higher than the barns. So I called my cousin up who works in the EPA in Boston, and I talked to him about it. He goes, well, we'll have somebody go out there. Well, found out all the horse shit was leaking in and leaching into the water table below, and this and that and everything else. Long story short, either renovate everything or close it down. So they closed down all the barns. And the significance of that is the fact that most of these people that go there, they live a distance from the track. They live 50, 60 miles away because it's a rural state. So everything's pretty kind of 15, 20, 40 minutes away. It's not close together. So driving an hour to go racing, that's not uncommon. Well, if you don't have a place to stable your horse, that means you got to drag this horse around. Plus, you got to get a stable to do that. And it just made it very inconvenient for everybody to where they just lost their racers. There was no reason to come out there no more. There's too many places like Bangor and a few other places that were closer to them where they could have stabled their horse there and nothing ever happened. So that kind of was one of the final blows to Scarborough Downs, and then they finally were able to sell the place, and that was the end.
Is it still open today?
I think they still got a little bit of an OTB thing. They sold it to a company. The deal finally went through, and they're turning it into like a community, it's right there in the middle of Scarborough when you come into town, and they're going to turn like the housing, shops type of community type mall, whatever type thing, condominiums, and all that stuff. There's like 300 some acres of land. There's a lot of land there, But yeah, that's what they're doing. They're turning into like just a development of some sorts, and so for right now, they're renting the old building still, and that's where the OTB's at. I think the bar's still open, but it's just floundering. I mean, it's so beat up. It's old. It's from the 50s. The place is it's an eyesore. Anybody, you go online and look at the windows are broken out. It's just a toilet, So with a new community going in and everything else, people ain't going to want to see that thing laying around. That's going to go. So they're just living on their last little bubble, which I can't see how much of a bubble it really is.
Right.
And then Sharon's gone now. She died of Alzheimer's disease or something like that. And then, so, she's not around. Joe's not around. And, I guess the big bad wolf is gone. Joe died seeing zebras and spots on the wall, and she saw the same thing.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, Joe. Well, Joe had lung cancer. And he was in the hospital. He was only married to Sharon like a year before he went in the hospital. And he was so bad off that he was hallucinating, the stories go. I mean, I've read reports and articles about it and some files on his own medical. Matter of fact, I got a chance to look at some of Joe's medical files. And yeah, he was he had his lungs were shot. He's been in a Mayo Clinic. He went all over the place trying to find himself a set of lungs or something, But the long and the short of it is by the time he died, of course, with no oxygen, your brain starts frazzling. He was out of his mind. That was the big dispute over the will, is because the will was changed when he was in the hospital, where in the original will, his sons were there, they got their entitlements and etc. Well, Sharon Terry at the end there somehow got this guy to sign everything over to her. And what she thought she was getting the grand enchilada and everything was going to be life real simple from there, never realized that lawn survivors were in the background just waiting to charge. We weren't even aware of Joe Ritchie dying. He died like in 01.
Wow.
So we weren't even aware of the fact that he wasn't really even around by the time we started getting fired up. So she kind of just walked into, yeah, you want it, you get it all. And she couldn't handle it. She was never able to handle it. She was never an expert of anything anyway. She worked in a restaurant. That's how they met her. She worked in a restaurant serving cocktails and other things. And that was it. She had no medical experience, no therapeutic experience. She was married to Joe Ritchie. That was it. She passed out sundries. She'd been in the 70s. She was there. And she passed out sundries, which is, like soap, shampoos, and things like that. Cigarettes. She passed out mail. She was just nobody. She was a woman that worked in the office. That's what she did. And Joe was still married then to Cheryl Benton. So he was just that was just a toy he had on the side. And then Cheryl Benton, she finally got away from him. And then, Jerry pops up. But no, they didn't get married. Yeah, it was like a year, I think it was. A year before he died, because I saw the marriage certificate. And then she kind of bamboozled him and really bamboozled herself, because all she got was just nothing but headaches. I wouldn't want to own that place. I don't care how much money I was getting. It's
right.
It's the internet, this, that. Plus, I got to deal with these people. I got there still, these residents and states and this, and it's just, I really don't know what's going on. I'm not the guy who started this, so I'm not versed in any of this. I don't have any of the stamina that Joe had. Get me out of here. Just get me out of this place. I'm done with this. And that's why they ran like hell. They even sold the property. They didn't sell any of their property. They sold that place. They did that.
I was talking to Ann the other day. I was like,
Ann Passion?
Yeah. I was like, if I ever did make it big on YouTube and get a whole bunch of money or whatever, I would buy that place for you guys, and we all go up there with axes and torches and just beat the hell out of it and then burn it down.
I don't think you have to do that. I think people are doing that for us already. We've had a lot of back and forth with some of the people up there. There was a guy up there that was watching the place for a while, and I was hard on the guy, Mark Ferguson. He's not a bad guy, and I was probably pretty rough on the guy, but he was of the impression that a lot of survivors are going back there and tearing the place up and beating it up. And I told him, buddy, you're barking up the wrong tree here now. That's not what goes on. We don't do that. First of all, if we do go up there, nobody's breaking anything. Nobody's stealing anything. It's not what our intentions are. If we wanted the place burnt down, we would have burnt it down while it was still open. We didn't have to wait. We would have done that a long time ago. Out of the 10,700 people that went through the place throughout the years, trust me, there was enough loose cannons that went through there that a batch and 5 gallons of gas was I'm very surprised it never did happen, because they had some real loose screws go through there. And the stuff they did, I could see where somebody with a vengeance would come back up there. I'm shocked it never happened. Absolutely shocked. But we had our backs and forth, but people go in there and they just, they go all over that place and just vandalize it. They try to give us heat. They realize it was locals, which is so common up in Maine, because there's so many camps and so many that when they close down this, that, whoever, they go creeping. We saw some place that was closed. We go in there and try to sneak in and see what was in there. And, that's what it was going through. It wasn't survivors going in there. And if we went in there, like, again, we're survivors. We don't care. We'll let you know.
Yeah, no doubt. So when you did go back, there was a collection effort of some kind at some point, as far as records and important memorabilia and so on. Went. And I've heard stories about people that go back there to retrieve records, and they know they're in a secret spot or something. I've heard that one. I don't know how much of any of that's true, but what do you know about any kind of, like, how did you guys go about getting any of that, the legacy kind of documentation or memorabilia that you would need to?
The local explorers, urban explorers, you kind of just direct them and tell them where to look, and they just kind of just falls out of the woodwork. There was stuff over there. Was stuff at Joe Ritchie's house on Blackstrap.
So he lived nearby.
Yeah, he lived in Falmouth. He lived every place was 45 minutes from his house. The track was 45 minutes from his house, and every facility was 45 minutes from his house. How it was figured out that way, I have no idea, but that's a fact. Yeah. Every Parsons Field, Waterford, Poland, and the racetrack are all 45 minutes from Joe Ritchie's house in Falmouth, Maine. It just worked out that way. But he had all the main records were in that barn. He had a big horse barn right in front, or an implement barn of sorts, right in the front of the property. It was pretty well known that's where it was at, because that's where all the records were always kept. They were always kept at Joe Ritchie's house, all your real records. He was a weirdo. He was paranoid like that. That was like central headquarters for everything was his house, his compound. So everybody knew the files were in the barn, and throughout the years, the place was rented and it was empty for a lot of time. And people get around, they get in and they get out. And then at the main facility in Poland Springs, above the nurse's office, which is right to the right of the front of the house, if you're standing in front of it, it's that building right to the right to you, not the trailer, but the other building. Up in the attic there, that's where they hit it. They used to keep all kinds of records and files up there. Anybody who was in Elan knows where to go. It's no secret to any of us. We all know where they kept the paperwork. And that's where a lot of stuff comes from. The urban explorers just guide them. Yeah, go look around here and see if you find anything next time you go by there. And sure enough, they've been extremely profitable as far as records and boxing gloves. And I mean, just stuff that you just wow, God bless.
Huh. Then you said boxing gloves, and it made me think of the ring. I was going to ask,
Oh yeah, I have all the boxing gloves. I have all the headgear. I have all that stuff.
Did they in the picture from the 1980s documentary that's very famous of the ring, right? The one picture they show you.
Right.
You see the guy throwing the left.
I have those gloves and those headgear. I have that stuff.
So you guys got headgear every time you boxed, or no?
Yeah, it depended on the occasion. They did, but then sometimes depending on the mood of the director or what was ever going on, and sometimes you did, sometimes it got knocked off. There was nothing fair about the ring. It wasn't designed for you to win. It wasn't designed for you to have fun. It wasn't designed for you anything. Just get the shit beat out of you. That was it. It was designed to teach you a lesson.
I was thinking maybe they would take the house bully would have to lose the headgear, or if the guy that house bully in the ring, if they were like really tough, like they were like one of the tougher kids there.
No,
it would be like
no. I've seen them. You get a tougher kid in there. I've seen them send 2-3 guys in around you. You ain't gonna win.
Oh, at the same time.
You're not gonna win. You're not gonna win. You better be Jet Li. You could be Jet Li,
right? And then, were there actual rules or no rules?
You getting your ass kicked, that was the rule. Outside of that, no, there was no holds barred. I mean, they used to get up there and they used to Kingsbury rules. Jeff Gottlieb used to say, and no hitting below the belt and blah blah blah. You going through this whole spiel again. It was like for them, it was like going to a foxtrot. It was an event. They'd all get up there on the stage and they'd have their coffees and their cigarettes and they'd be all jacked up and whatever else they were doing. And it was time to have some fun. Everybody make a big circle, put some guys in the middle, get a couple house bullies in there and deal with it. It was not designed to win. And girls, guys, it didn't matter who you were. That's one thing about Elan. They did not discriminate.
Now, did they have guys going against girls and girls going against guys, or
if need be? There was a couple of girls in there from the Rhode Island training school that were there. I'll tell you what, you better send a guy in there because they were tough. There was a girl, Patty Blinkborn, man. She'd knock your teeth out, and she wasn't very big, and she didn't, but she was mean. Cheryl Smith. These girls did beat the hell out of the average guy. They were just tough girls, man. They were just tough. They're very nice. But you try to stay on that nice side because you saw them in the ring and they just terrorize people. They'd go in for the house sometimes, like Patty Blinkhorn would, and she would just destroy girls in there. Just bada bing, bada boom, they're done. If they were from Rhode Island in the training school, they already knew who she was. They just balled up and took the beating. It's fuck it. There's no reason to get hurt any worse than you have to. Just get it over with.
Oh, geez, wow.
And that's but it didn't matter. Whatever it took, they'd send adults in there. I've seen staff members go in the ring. You get an older kid in there that was maybe a little tougher or something like that. And, somebody like Peter McCann would go in there. There was a staff member. He was never a resident. He was hired as staff. And this guy was, I was small, but he had to be about 6'4", maybe 300 pounds. He looked like a big ogre. The guy had his big walrus mustache and this one kind of funny eye that went off to the side. Just your average thug bully. And he'd go in there. You weren't going to win no matter what. He went in one time with Vincent Smith because they put Vincent Smith in the ring. And Vincent Smith was the guy I was telling you about, looked like Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
That was the type of kid that you better send somebody pretty tough in there with him because this kid, you're not going to just knock him down.
Right.
There's just a few people are going to take some licks before you take this guy out. But, it's just.
I was thinking about that. What if there was a Mike Tyson there, just wailing, this can't be beat? You ever see anybody not will ever win, or it's like
Vincent Smith was about as close as I saw as somebody that really just Even Peter McCann couldn't put him down. He still stood there. This kid he was a tough kid. He was probably 6 foot tall, maybe 180, 200 pounds. But he was built like a brick shit house. He was looking like he was made in a factory. I mean, this guy had muscles on top of his muscles and was fast and agile. And he was a guy that it was best to be his friend. It really was.
Yeah,
Just
sounds like it.
Yeah, you're best to be a friend with him than an enemy. And I always got along great with him. I thought he was I thought he's a great guy. I think he's a minister now or something.
Oh, wow.
But,
we got a $10 super chat from TR. TR, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Question for Mark. I don't know if you can answer this, but would you rather have gone to juvie/jail or still have gone to Elan School?
I was in juvie/jail before I went to Elan. It's neither one or the other. I think Elan was a good experience for me. It woke me up to a lot of things I never paid attention to in life. I learned a lot about life. I learned how not to treat people. That's one thing I did get out of the place. It was just, I've been through worse than Elan, so it was just like another stepping stone for some people. I guess they'd rather say jail, but nah, I don't think so. I think Elan was its own thing. You could either handle it or you couldn't. Just like Jeff said, if you came into season like we were from juvenile and jail, I mean, it's just another day at the park, really. Just make sure you stay out of the way and watch out what goes on.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much for the super chat, TR. Appreciate it. I hope that answers your question. That made me think, we kind of got into your backstory a little bit, but we didn't really get into your backstory. Do you want to elaborate on anything about what was life for Mark Babitz like? I know we've talked about it. I didn't ask you prior to our conversation tonight how far back, you want to talk, what you felt comfortable talking about, but I'll throw it to you.
How far back do you want to go? I mean, what do you want to know?
Well, I mean, you have a great story from the beginning. You were basically having to take care of yourself at a very young age. And
my father, he was a special treat. We grew up in a neighborhood. We had money and stuff like that. It wasn't a poverty situation of any sort. The dad, man, drank a lot. Just, after a couple of martinis, he was Jekyll and Hyde. So I got a young start at about 13, 14 years old and got the hell out of there. And, you just learn to survive. You just, one thing led to another. And I had uncles that were loan sharks and bookies, and just life was different. It was a lot different. A lot of experiences. Learned at a young age. Learned a lot of things. I was a smart kid. I wasn't stupid. I was never one of these kids that didn't pay attention or didn't ask questions. I asked a lot of questions, but I just paid attention, and I learned the streets fast. And life. I don't know. It hasn't been easy, but it hasn't been horrible. I gotta say. I mean, it was. Nothing in life comes easy. That's one thing I did learn. I learned how to appreciate things in life because I've had nothing and then I've had everything and I've lost it and got it back. So, there's something to be said for a little bit, living life a little bit on the rough side. You learn to appreciate things more. You learn to appreciate people more. You realize you can't do it on your own. You got to have somebody out there to help you somehow, some way. If it's nothing else more than just talk to. There's a lot of valuable lessons to learn by growing up hard. It makes you humble. You do appreciate things. When you sit down at a table and says somebody says, "What do you want to eat?" You don't care. You really don't care because you've lived a life where you didn't have anything to eat, or you've been with people who had nothing to eat, to where something to eat is just great. No problem, man. Whatever you got, good. You lose a lot of that fussiness and particularness. Of course, there's things you like to eat and don't like to eat, but you're not going to split hairs on it. Somebody offers you something to drink, you don't ask what it is. Yeah, sure, whatever. It helps you out a lot. You don't grow up feeling entitled. You don't grow up feeling like you're better than anybody because you've seen both sides and you've been on both sides. So you really aren't better. And to think you're up here one day, really, you can always be back where you were at. And a lot of people, they don't believe that. Oh, I'm on the top now, so that can never fall. Believe me, you can fall. And the farther up you are, the harder the fall is. So you appreciate stuff in life, and that's kind of what my life has taught me, just to appreciate things, appreciate people. I don't know. That's kind of everything in a nutshell. My life itself, it was very interesting, very interesting. A lot of stuff went on. A lot of things have happened, and thank God I made it through. I don't know. I never thought I'd be it, but yep, here I am, still walking around. Don't know how I pulled it off, but it is.
It seems like from listening to your stories that you just had a will, a very strong will to make sure you did always make it home, and that, you were going to make it till you're going to be standing there in the end.
Well, I was put
So
up for adoption when I was 18 months old. I grew up in a Canadian orphanage, then got adopted. And I mean, just from the start, the first 5 years of my life, there was none of that nurturing and cuddling stuff that, your kids really need. And that is the development years of the first five when they teach. It's when you learn emotions and feelings. So, I mean, I got robbed of a lot of that as a kid. You grow up with a little confusion in your head about how you should feel or what you should feel. Life is just, but it's just, you just learn. You learn from a young age that nobody's going to be your fan except for you. If you're looking for a cheering section or people to pamper you through life or give you things in life, you're wasting your damn time. You've got to be your biggest hero, and you've got to always believe in yourself, whether you're right or wrong. You've got to believe in yourself. You got to find some type of higher power, be it God or a bookshelf, but you got to find something, because if you try to travel out there alone and think you can do it alone, you're out of your goddamn mind. You're going to have nothing but misery. You're going to be upset all your life and always be confused and probably never have anything. You got to believe in yourself. And that's one thing life teaches you at a young age when you don't have the gifts that most people have, or a lot of people have. You got to believe in yourself. And most people, they don't believe in themselves. They say they do, but they really, really don't. That's where you get the Monties and the Monographs and the Umbrella Men and whoever else they are. Or people that just don't believe in who they are. They can't get out there and just speak to people about who they are and how it's okay to be you. It really is. The world doesn't have to love you. You got to love yourself. Once you got that under control, the rest of the world will start at least liking you. They might not love everything you do, but they're going to feel like, you got a good heart. You're fine. So I don't know. I learned a lot of things in life and done a lot of things. So I don't know what the actual story is, but it's a long one.
well, hey, man, it's an interesting story, and it's a story of a true survivor in life, and of all the different circumstances that one can be thrown at. A lot of people don't know what it's like to have to grow up in such a way.
Well, big thing is never be a victim. Don't ever think you're a victim. There is no victimhood. And that's what so many people, especially these days, get so wrapped up in this victimhood stuff, or they get wrapped up in the racial thing. Oh, because I'm a certain color, I live a certain life. Hey, go talk to some people out there. There's people who live a lot worse life than you've ever lived, and it's got nothing to do with their color. It's just the hand you get dealt in life. Elan was a place that Joe Ritchie was extreme racist and homophobe. The only reason any black people were in there is either for their sporting abilities, because he loves sports, or because of affirmative action. When somebody's going to send you so much money a month, you're going to take whatever comes in the door. You're not going to be as particular as you want to be. But Elan was a predominantly white facility, especially in the 70s. There was, I think, 4 or 5 black people there out of 250 people. So the stuff we went through, trust me, there's nothing racial about it. We were all a bunch of little white kids in there, and we went through mind-blowing experiences. So, life is just how it comes. It has nothing to do on your color or who you are or what you think in life. It's just, life is what it is, and you can't use your past as a crutch, and you can't use your race as a crutch. You can't use your position as a crutch. You have to stand up on your own and just move forward. And everybody's capable of doing that, no matter what you are. It doesn't matter. That's one thing. Elan taught us that too, is not to be racist. Because we're all in the same boat, no matter where we came from, how much money you had, what you look like, what color you were. We're all going through the same shit every day. You learn at a very young age. It's for everyone goes through these things. It teaches you a lot. I mean, you learn a lot in life.
For sure, no doubt. The something you mentioned while you're talking, I don't think we covered. Talk about what was it like just to, at Elan? Like, what was the food like? You talked about, like, I remember hearing a lot of people saying they were always hungry, and I remember you talking about like how people would, you sit down to eat and you appreciate the fact someone's,
well, it was your run of the mill institutional food. We were in Maine, so there was a lot of lobster bisque and stuff like that. What you would think was, some fine restaurant food. Right. We ate so much of that crap up there, man. You must eat lobster for the rest of your damn life. We're done with that.
I mean, lobster bisque sounds pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it is if you ate it once or twice in your life or on occasion. But when you fed that stuff all the time, it's just a substitute, because you're right there on the ocean. So I mean, and bisque is just, it's scraps, it's pieces. So it's the cheapest part you can buy. You can already buy the lobster for almost nothing. So the scraps of it even come for less. So it was almost like getting served mutton. They, hamburgers. I mean, they had some pizza here and there. I mean, the food was it was institutional food. It was never really very good. But then again, you weren't there for the cuisine. It's, it's what was there, man. You eat or you don't eat. There was no real science to it. Eat this or starve. They had candy available and stuff like that. You would get as part of your pay, with whatever positions you held. But, you can't live on a bit of honeys and Hershey bars.
Yeah.
And then they had the juice that would be out there. They'd have chocolate milk and they'd have regular milk. Always coffee. Pot was always on, this big old coffee pot.
And they always have a particular kind of coffee too, right?
Well, it was always black in the tank, but then they would douse it with so much sugar and milk and stuff like that. That was like drinking more of a molasses than it was a coffee at that point. But that was because
I think it was
so many drug addicts there. They didn't have so many, but they had a lot of drug addicts there. That they love their sugar, man. It was all about the sweets.
They had didn't it all come from a certain country? Wasn't it always a certain type? I can't remember if it was Jeff telling me that or somebody else, but someone was dressed in the.
It came from Colombia.
Okay.
Colombian coffee. You used to get drugs sent in the coffee.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the next thing I was going to ask you about. Like, diving deeper into Joe Ritchie. There's a lot to unpack with this guy.
That's more than just a rumor. I know people that know Joe Ritchie that told me the same story. And a lot of these people don't even know each other, so there's no reason the story could be untrue. Like I say, how do you come from Venezuela 4,000 miles away and find Poland Springs, Maine? You couldn't find Poland Springs, Maine if I gave you directions and you live in the U.S. You'd have a hard time figuring it out once you got past Vermont. So how the hell do you find it in Venezuela? Especially in such an amount of people that went there. There's just all the writing is on the wall with that stuff. And Joe, he had Ebby Brown used to come deliver all the cigarettes. He used to buy those from the American Can Company. A guy in Rhode Island used to send it up there. He was a businessman on the East Coast. And that's who Joe bought all his cigarettes from. They were the same people who used to run a little bit of money through the Scarborough Downs, from what I understand. And that's how Joe was on the hook with those guys. But they ran that guy. Everything he needed, you bought from them. You bought from them. You bought from them. You bought from them. Otherwise, you didn't get it. It was quite a system they had going on over
there. You said cans. So did they sell you? Did you get packs of cigarettes, or did you get
Oh yeah,
hand roll them. Okay.
No, they had no. It wasn't like jail. They had cases of cigarettes came in. You got to order the kind you had every week. List would go out. You check off. If you got cigarettes, you would check off the brand you wanted, and the brand would be there from whatever brand, doesn't matter. And then the big Ebby Brown truck would come from Rhode Island, and they'd have the cigarettes on that truck, and they would have all the soaps and shampoos and all that little stuff. That was like the commissary truck, and that truck would pull in, and that's what they get. All the Soilex and stuff like that for cleaning would come with that, and it would come in the big truck.
Huh? They wouldn't. You can't get laid, but you can have all the cigarettes you want, right?
Well, yeah, that's about kind of how it worked. Yeah, all the caffeine and nicotine you want, but nothing else.
Right. I mean, you just have to get a whole carton. They just buy a carton a week, or were they just like?
No. If you're a senior coordinator, you get 2 cartons a week. Some could get 3.
Dang. Oh, so it's like almost
smoking. Oh, dude, I'm telling you what, you smoke like a chimney when you were in that place. If you didn't smoke when you got to Elan, you smoked when you were there. You smoked after you got there.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed is everybody from Elan smokes.
Everybody. You even watch that documentary. Everybody's got a cigarette packed, curled up in their shirt. Everybody's got a cigarette in their lip. Everybody. It's just, it's something else there. And the state's paid for it, so it was no burden on you. You didn't have to do nothing. Just pay attention.
Does that make everybody feel better that your taxpayer dollars were going to buy troubled teen cigarettes and
teen cigarettes and coffee?
Right? I mean, yeah, that's it. That you have to sign the bill so we can read it.
That's how they were, though. That's exactly how they were. But then you really needed those little vices or something to just kind of break it off. I don't know if they really worked or not, but you had to give us something. I mean, to go just cold turkey through that whole place, just nothing, no coffee, no cigarettes, no nothing. I just, wow. I think there probably would have been more suicides for sure. Definitely more runaways if you had nothing to settle your nerves with something, because they didn't have any medication. There was no drugs, so you're left on your own. And that's where a lot of kids got in trouble, is because some of those kids were drugged out and they needed the medicines they were getting, but they deprived them of them. And you got the results of why they were taking the medicines to begin with. And then they
So
would,
that's another thing I forgot to say was um oh, sorry about that. I meant to put a question mark. I mean, I was trying to say that the medications, right? So like these days everybody's medicated, but they they got rid of the medications, right?
well, yeah, there was no medication there as far as like, Valiums and whatever the doctor had you doing before you got there. No, there was no medications of any of that stuff. Unless you were an epileptic or something like that, then of course they gave you that. But no, it was a drug-free program. That was one of their big mottos, is that they didn't use drugs to treat. There was a whole thing. They didn't do that. That was one of their big things they stood on. And sadly to say, a lot of these kids, they just need a little something to, keep them going in a straight direction. And, again, that's where a lot of people had problems. And, you can't correct biology, man. If you're off, you're off. If you have an imbalance of whatever, it's unbalanced. There's a reason why the medications are there. And that was Elan's. That's just the way they did it. Screwed up a lot of people pretty bad.
Yeah, no doubt. And I guess if you're trying to recover from drugs and alcohol, and you don't want to be dependent on it. I guess they could make an argument that that wouldn't help, right? But then I'm sure the people like who are diabetic got their insulin, right? And the people
Oh yeah, stuff like that. But you got to remember,
to keep you alive.
a lot of these people too were drug addicts and alcoholics and stuff like that. And when you go to an AA meeting or an NA meeting, stuff like that, that's all they got there was sweet rolls, coffee, the same stuff they're giving you because they crave their sweets and they crave their cigarettes. Those are the second cravings. So I mean, there's a main reason why that's kind of like a staple in these places, is because it keeps you from, the withdrawals aren't so bad. Even after you're out of the withdrawals, you still, you need a little something. It keeps you from jonesing so hard.
Have you ever heard about that? Have you ever seen that documentary called The Group? It's more about cults than rehab centers, but it's like, okay, what have you heard of it? Have you heard of this?
I don't know. There's one out there that Straights did. No, I don't know about. I don't know.
This is different. It's different, but the same, because you see the same kind of you see some of the same psychology, right? Like
Right.
This is what they did with all the good kids, right? So this is another. You take all the good kids, and you put them in a group, and you make a cult out of that, and
Right.
they work through like Christian organizations and stuff. But what they would do is they would get the kids to join the group, right? And then become the group. And then the group was everything. You always hang out with the group. It became your bubble.
Yes.
And you'd go to these like long weekends with the group. You'd always be all that stuff. They would isolate you from your parents, everybody.
It's all about alienation. You got to take you out of wherever you're at, isolate you, and reprogram you. That's what it's all about.
You could stay up all night long and hang out. And these kids were just like running in mobs from place to place. And they could do anything they want. They could say anything they want. But there was just no drugs and alcohol there, right? And they would but they had plenty of cigarettes and coffee.
But we're your support group. We're letting you know that don't worry about it. We got you back on this one. So you have no reason not to do things or not to listen. Especially in a place like Elan or Straights Incorporated or Circle S. When you have adults,
it was a Hyde too, yeah. Hyde I heard a lot about.
Yeah, Hyde's another one. That you have what you're almost considering adults at your age. Telling your people responsibility, you're thinking, telling you it's okay. You're not doubting it. All your life you've got to listen to somebody older, somebody in charge. So now when they're telling you it's okay, you're just okay. You might not think it's okay, but they're saying it's okay. So, well, I guess it is okay. You're confused. That's fake. A lot of that stuff happens. That's how you trick people into being so ruthless and narcissistic, is you let them believe that it's okay instead of saying, no, man, you can't treat people like that. You got to act this way. You got to act that way.
Yeah. And we're in a culture right now that is really not doing that at all. Like we're saying it's okay to be, we're basically giving passes to the really highly narcissistic behavior on all fronts. I mean, the fact that Amber Heard was able to get away with what she got away with for so long was a prime example that we could all
There's so much.
relate to.
There's so much of that. There's so much victimhood. There's so much identity. It's and I don't. Like I say, I don't criticize people for the way they live, but you live in your space. I'll live in my space. That's the nice part about the country is that we can live any way we want to live here, and it's just like it's gotten to where everybody's just they're not even sensitive. They're just they're bizarre. They're weird. I was watching a program the other day, and this guy had like these 4 or 5 girls sitting around a table, and he asked one of them, to give them the definition of a woman or a girl, something even simpler. None of them could tell him. I really will, depending on how you feel or how you no, a biological definition between Bob and Sue. What's the difference? None of them would answer the question. I've seen programs like that before where they go on, they talk to these younger people, and who would you vote for? I'll vote for this person. Well, can you tell me why? Well, and immediately they're stuck. Well, my friend likes him, so that means you should do it then, right? Too much following, and there's no leading. Everybody's become sheep, and they just kind of just go along to sheeple. One guy says it's okay to jump off the bridge, and everybody lets go. They don't think for themselves, or they just follow. And what they're following, I have no idea. No idea at all. None. I know one thing for sure, that when you ask them a question or you confront them on something in a very nice way, it doesn't matter. They're dumbfounded on how to answer you, and when they can't answer you, they lash out at you, just like Monograph. When they're stuck and you can't answer the question, and that's the first guy who loses the conversation is the one who loses his temper. That's the first one who loses. That's the one who loses school.
Right. Yeah. It's like surrender.
It's a total surrender.
There we go. We had some questions coming in here. So, what did you do while you were in as a youth to keep yourself occupied? Saying how, what, if any hobbies did you take on while trying to cope alone?
There were no hobbies. You just coped. You did it. There's no way to really describe it. There were no hobbies or occupy yourself. They occupied you the whole time. You didn't have to worry about occupying yourself. And there was no free time. There was no building ships or taking pictures or drawing pictures. There was none of that. You just roughed it through. It's like being in the military, man. You just kept shooting bullets every day. There was no time off.
Yeah, they kept them really busy. That's for sure. How long did the school get away with it? How did the school get away with it for so long without authorities or kids escaping, getting caught?
42 years. 42 years, about 42 years or so.
Oh, it's just how did they?
How did the school get? They just did. Through graft.
Get away with it for so long. I think
the graft.
She's questioning where the authorities and the kids escaping, getting caught. I think what I'm reading is
they just paid people off up there. They just paid them off. That was as simple as it is. They had a state senator up there, Bill Diamond, who was friends with Joe Ritchie forever. It was just a matter of it was politics. It was no more complicated than that. You explained to me how it stayed open for so long. There was plenty of investigations, plenty of states that went in there, plenty of news articles, plenty of incidents. It's a good question. How did it stay open? There's only one answer. It's no simpler than that. Kids got killed that ran away from there. There's just ridiculous. Dawn Birmingham got abducted, dumped off in Pennsylvania by that guy named Cruz, a trucker. The one guy O'Hara shot what was his name? Brad Glickman in the head when he ran away and was staying at that farmhouse for a few days. There's enough stuff there that drew attention to the place. There was no reason why it shouldn't have been shut down, except for the fact that this just didn't go that way. Money.
Ali, thank you for your answer. I said, damn, wow. Thank you for answering, Mark. Can't imagine. Cannot imagine.
Thank you for your question.
Absolutely. They love getting out and being able to help raise awareness. I mean, hey, I think we've done this poll before, but, I think a lot of people for the first time are learning about this topic. And, that's a great thing is that we are getting the word out to a lot of people here.
It's a topic to think about. And you do have a lot of survivors out there that won't tell you they're a survivor. But once you kind of understand what's going on, you might understand the person you're talking to a little bit better. You might even see it in them. I let them know, blah, blah, blah. I get involved once in a while with survivor groups from other places and talk to people. Oh, really? Well, I was in a place one time and blah, blah, blah. You'd be surprised, man. It's nobody special went to these places. Everybody went to these places from all walks of life. So there's a lot of people around you that could have been in a program someplace, or somebody's thinking about sending a kid to a program, a friend of yours or something like that. He's like, I've been watching this stuff and listening to some of these things. Maybe you want to check that place out a little bit, see what's going on. They said this happened, from 40 years in Maine. They say it still happens. It's worth taking a look at. And when you look at the schools these days and the things that go on, it's not bad advice. Let's see what they're going to do with the kids at the school before we send little Bobby or Joey over there. And it's just a good heads up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Things like that can slide past people. And, and here's the thing is like, you can, knowing this now, you may be in a position one day where one of your kids' friends are, you're hearing about this. And you're like, whoa, I need to call those parents and let them know, hey, you don't want to do that.
The parents are at their wits' end. They don't know what to do. They're frustrated. They just want help. They want somebody to bail them out of the situation and get some kind of help. So, that's how they get bamboozled. You catch them with their emotions. It's an emotional sale. We'll make sure
Thank you for the heads up, Cool Frog. I appreciate this. G-Nex also asked, did they teach skills that you could use outside of the school, like cooking, cleaning, technical things, etc.?
The cooking, a lot of cooking and cleaning going on, but there was no technical skills except how to argue with people. You learned a lot about psychology, but that was about it. There was no formal training, or no, you weren't set up to go out and take on the world. If that's the question. No.
Yeah, that was one of the hardships a lot of people ran into. Like,
you walked out there pretty much the same person you were, just with a different attitude. Unless you were smart enough to pick up the pieces and move forward, you struggled. You had no skills. There was no shop class or auto class or even any kind of classes really to teach you anything about anything. You really didn't go to school. And the school that you did go to was a couple hours long. It was normally at night, and it was just general nothing, just nothing. Math, reading. I mean, just nothing. Just nothing. I mean, it's 2 hours a night.
She has another question for you. She asked, were any of the surviving victims offered therapy or any other services to help rehabilitate them in some way?
No way. No way at all. Nope. You just went on to the next place you went on to. I mean, you were young, so if a line didn't work out, you probably turned up in an institution someplace else. That's all. When I got out of there, they jumped me into another place. It's kind of how it is. You get on that, diesel therapy of institutions, and you just go from one place to the other. One doesn't work out, they send you to another one.
And how old were you when you got pulled out? You got pulled out with the Illinois 11.
Yeah, just right? probably right around 16, right around there.
So you still had a few years to go in high school.
Yeah. Yep.
Right on. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of the stories are what you said. Like even like the end of the last stop, there was not many stories that ended with, and then I went on, and everything was just great.
Yeah, no, there's really no stories where everybody went on to be this great success and owns 5 Wendy's now and a place in New York. No, it's nothing like that at all. Whatever you have, you built yourself, or you're one of those trust fund babies that you just got handed to you regardless. You just survived. So your parents left you everything. And there was a number of those people there that just got money because they were part of that family. And then there's other people that, made it. Some didn't. There's a lot of it was up to the person, really. I mean, we all had basically the same start, nothing.
I tell you what, but I tell you what, and looking at it from the outside here, I think all of y'all are successes, and you probably don't agree with me, but I mean, you made it through a lot, and you're here right now, and you're good people, and and you care. You have humanity in your heart, and you went through some of the most like soul crushing things that people can imagine, as you can tell by the reactions in the chat. It's you still have a smile on your face and a care in the world. You didn't get beaten by it, and that's an admirable thing. And
you gotta believe in yourself, and you believe in yourself. Nobody can beat you, even if you got beat. You can't. You never accept defeat.
Never.
And it's just stumbling blocks, and you learn from them. Hopefully, you pay attention and you learn from them. Did Elan have a lot to offer? They had a lot to offer as far as things of just what not to do in life, how not to treat people, how not to act. In reverse, if you paid attention to that aspect, you probably did get a lot of Elan. Everything you really shouldn't do in life, every way you shouldn't treat a person. You saw their humiliation processes. You saw degrading processes. You saw all this stuff at a young age to understand at an early age, whether you think this is right or is wrong. So forming wise, it forms you a lot at that age to make a choice of, what you believe in, what you don't believe in, which carries on in your life. I was never a victimizer or somebody want to pick on people or disrupt their life just for giggles. No. I guess that comes from a young age. I never wanted my life invaded. I never wanted people bullying me. So, teaches you that too. You treat people the way you want to be treated. Some of your parents taught you a long time ago, but most of us forgot.
Well, TJ seemed to do pretty good. He came out really well, and I don't think we mentioned him enough in our conversation so far. Yeah,
TJ is a great guy. He's done very well for himself, but he's done it on his own. He's a self-made person. But TJ was a different kind of guy. He was there in the 2000s. He was never really an aggressive kind of guy, never that type of person. And he was able, I think, to fall back into society a little bit better. I don't know, and I know him very well, but he had his parents there that helped him out. I shouldn't say helped him out, but gave him a place to land when he got out. So I mean, it wasn't like he hit the streets by himself and he was on his own. But everything he's gotten in life, he's worked for him by himself. He's made himself into who he is, and now he's got a wife and he's got himself a house and he's done it all by himself and worked his ass off.
He's got a lot of talent as well. Yeah, a lot of talent.
He worked his ass off. He's an editor. He does editing for commercials and things like that. So I mean, it's all stuff that he picked up as he was growing up. All stuff that he really liked when he was a kid. He used to like photography and things like that. So it's an interest he's always had in his life. And like I said, he has a wheelhouse. That's the wheelhouse he stays in. And he just kept pursuing it, and now he's a success with it, and he does well with it. And super guy, one of my best friends. I always have good things to say about TJ. Always.
Yeah, and you guys did one hell of a job in the last stop. I know that you had your part and he had his, but it was a group effort. But everybody did an excellent job with that.
Well, thank you. TJ put a lot of work into that thing. That's a lot of travel. He traveled everywhere to do the interviews. He pulled a lot of bucks out of his pocket to make it. And he did a lot of work. There's a lot of stuff kind of out of his wheelhouse because he's not a very, I should say friendly, but he's not a very outgoing kind of guy. He's kind of shy in his own way. And for him to go out there and beat the streets I was very impressed. He did a good job of it. I mean, he lined up other survivors to talk, but taking the steps to go see him, do this, do that, bring his little camera crew with him and his people to film, and he did it just as a professional would do it. He did a great job. He was professional throughout his whole thing, and I'm just very impressed with him, and I'm glad I was able to work with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And my impression from him in the film was he's kind of like the introverted artist type.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's the guy that'll sit in the room and not say anything to anybody unless you talk to him, and then he might not say much. It's just that's how he is. It's not because he's a snob or anything. It's just that's how he is.
Question from Jim. I'm sorry. Question from Gene. Does a support group currently exist?
Yeah, a bunch of them.
Okay. They do. They have the Elan support group.
Survivors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go to the documentary page. You can guide it from there anywhere.
Gene's got all the great questions tonight. Thank you so much for all the questions, Gene. These are awesome. Did other larger media organizations get a hold of this story and try to contact them and dig into this?
Yeah, just pick up the newspaper. Just go on Google. All the states did. Nothing ever happened.
We see a lot of that. We see a lot of that in the world today, where we know there's a problem and nothing happens, right? That's why this story is amazing.
Yep. You Google Elan School investigations, and you'll see Rhode Island pop up, New York, Illinois, all the states. Why didn't anything happen again? I don't know. You tell me.
Because I think I can answer it. At least give a good whack at it. Is that because people waited for other people to do something. Unlike Mark and the survivors of Elan, they took it to them, and they had an idea that drove them as a group to actually provide a solution. And that's why.
like we told Sharon and Terry, Frankenstein built the monster. Now we're coming back to the castle. It's you guys created these monsters, and now we're going to give you some program. We're going to shoot you down to nothing, and we're going to go like that with you. How's that sound? Now you go through the program. And that's kind of what we did with them. We put them through their program, just tortured them and screwed with their heads and played games with them and doxed the shit out of them. I mean, these people were so fucked up by the time it closed. They had to be glad it closed. It's just, they couldn't take it no more. They just couldn't take it no more. The phone calls, they would blow up the phones at the place. We'd have people calling constantly just to fuck with them, just to tie their phone lines up. I mean, these people could not function. We totally just locked them up. And that's, like I say, it's a group of people. One person can't do this. But by the time we were done with them, they truly they had to be insane, at least real close to it. They had to be. I know I would have been, because there's nothing they couldn't do about it. They couldn't. It wasn't the old Joe Ritchie days where somebody slammed their fist on a table and it would all stop. No, there was no stopping this train. It was going, going, going. And it's down the track, and ain't stopping this one. And it was there was some satisfaction and some closure just in that, just the fact to watch these people run like scared rabbits. And like I said, they literally threw the keys up in the air and ran out in the woods. Nothing in that place was ever taken out. That's why you still have records of this. They just left. After 40 years, they just left. Payroll records, everything, just left. Now, how do you explain that? I mean, you still own the place, you still own the property. Why don't you at least clean it out or do something with it, dispose of it? No, just left it. Bunk beds are still there. Mattresses are still there right to this day. All you got to really do is dust it off and move on in, maybe paint a wall or two they vandalize, and we seal on. There's no difference. Same place. Yep. That's what happens. You drive people insane. They just don't know what to do.
See, a question from Moose Maneuver. Know
Moose
anything about yes. Yeah, Moose is cool. He has a channel similar to mine.
Okay.
He's a good friend. He hangs out and chats a lot. He's a good guy. He's up there around your area.
I would guess somewhere where his Moose is, right?
Yep. Know anything about the facility properties past, prior, or what happened after it closed / current state of it? We've been talking a little bit about that.
Well, which property are you talking about? Waterford got burnt down in a controlled burn.
Okay, that was the first one, right? The very first one that they started everything on.
The very first one was Sebago.
Okay, and Sebago.
That burnt to the ground, and now on the property that was on is the Sebago Town Hall, where the village owns it now, or whatever the town. Then came Waterford, which is in Waterford, Maine. That was burnt down in a controlled burn years ago. The one house, this property was attached to it. That some guy, I forgot what his name is. It came on me. He bought it. He's from New Hampshire. Parsonsfield still stands on Mount Randall. Some guy bought that recently for $150,000. Poland Springs was sold right around, I want to say it was 20, it closed in 11, right around 12 maybe, or 13. It was sold to a guy named Kinney. He was a slumlord in Poland Springs. And that's who owns the properties now. He owns that main house, and he owns that other house up the road from it.
Okay, I think I'm still a little bit confused about the typography of just the whole layout, right? Because I think in my mind, still even right now, that all the houses were like really just kind of like on a field, but I'm hearing different locations, as in sounds like cities.
No. If you go to Poland, if you go on a MapQuest or whatever, you go look at the Poland Springs property, 70 number 5 road. You will see the compound. You'll see the main house. You'll see all those cabins. That's one facility. In the 70s, that was one facility. Then they broke those cabins up into all those different numbers. And that gives you a little different perspective. So what you see there is you'll see a plot with a big building. You'll see a long building. You'll see a trailer. And then you'll see these little cabins, these little bungalow things. Those were all described as different houses over the years, where they actually were all the same place. Then right up the road from that, you'll see another house. The house, the White House with the red doors. That was another house they had. But both of those houses are in Poland Springs.
Okay, so when you say, just to get an idea, when you say up the road, like, are you talking like a minute, or are you talking like 45?
A baseball throw.
Oh,
throw.
okay, baseball throw.
As you're coming down number 5 road, 70 number 5 road is at the end of the road, at the dead end of the road. That's Poland Springs. That's the Poland Springs facility, the main facility. Just before you come to that, probably 200 yards to your right, you'll see a house. and there'll be a baseball diamond right there. That was the other facility. That was the prefab facility they put up there in the mid-70s around there. That was that house. And those are the only two facilities at Poland Springs, period. There was no other ones. The other one was in Waterford. That's on Passaconaway Way and Apple Blossom. And there was a farmhouse, which is the old Pike Farm. Senator Pike was his name. There was a farmhouse, and there was a place just right across the street from it on the corner where they had an A-frame house in there. That was all owned by the same person. That was burned down and controlled burn. Property was sold off. That was the Waterford facility. Then Parsons Field sits on top of Mount Randall. It's an old sanatorium. It's 3 stories tall, and that building is still there. And some guy bought it. I don't know what he's doing with it, but yeah, but those buildings still do stand. Golden Arc Corporation, which is what Sharon Terry was, Golden Arc. They haven't owned that stuff in years. They've got rid of all of it. There's nothing to do with it. I mean, it's
all right. Here we go. How about this? How about we get some pictures going here? Little visual aids.
Yeah, visual aids are best. Yeah,
are they? I should have done this a long time ago. All right.
Okay, that's Poland Springs.
It's right? Poland Springs. We're pulling into Poland Springs. That's where the guy's standing next to the sign in the video.
Right. That's the main house. That right there is, go ahead.
That's right here.
That right. That's to the very right is Joe Ritchie's old office.
Okay.
Right there. That's a trailer. That used to be twice as long, but a pine tree fell on top of it and chopped it in half.
That must have been an exciting day.
That place next to it, that's the nurse's office. Right next to that trailer.
Right, right here?
That first building, that's the nurse's office. It's an old bungalow, an old cabin.
Okay.
Okay, and then to the left of that is a school. The far left is a school. All the way on the left there, that's the school. Then the main house is in the middle. And then you can see the cabins as you go down.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, those are all cabins down there.
Okay, so what number would this be? This is the nurse's office. Does this have a number?
No, it was just the nurse's office, administration building.
And what about right here?
That's the main house. That's where the boxing rings are at, the dining room, all this stuff.
Okay.
That was your main attraction right there.
Did everybody eat in this house, or was it?
When I was there, that's where everybody ate. Kitchen's right in front of you, right where you're standing. Right there is the kitchen.
Okay, right there.
That door there goes into the house. The one to the left of that is the kitchen. Right there is the kitchen. That's the kitchen.
Okay, I can. Yeah, okay. You have a dumpster over here or something.
Don't you have a better picture than that, like a MapQuest picture?
Yeah. You want me to find one? Hold on.
Yeah, that'd be the easiest way to describe this place. Right now,
I think because this guy had like all these things down here. I think there's a MapQuest picture here somewhere. There's this. Okay, we saw that, and then there's that, I guess, and then this.
There you go.
Okay.
Right there, where that dot's at is the main house. And then you see the cabins as you go down there. See like that big double one with the double roofs on, right? Where you screw up right there.
Oh,
I'm pointing with my finger.
Sorry, I got you, buddy. Here you go. All right.
If you go straight up from there, to your left, or right there. That is what's his name is saying is number 7.
Okay.
That was the men's dorm. It's the biggest dorm there. Then down from there is another dorm. Then if you go back across, you can't see because of the trees. There's 2 other dorms in those woods. There's also a dorm back. If you see that road, off that red dot, you see how it goes into the place. There's that one road kind of foggy called Raleigh Camp Road.
Okay.
See it down the bottom there, the Raleigh Camp Road. There was a house that was right there, and that's a schoolhouse.
This one right here?
Yeah, there's a road. There's a cabin right about there. There's a cabin. You can't see it because of the trees. Then these other 2 buildings here up that road towards the front, there you go, over towards the house right there. Those 2 buildings, that was a school.
Okay.
And then right across from there on that, there was a house there that the staff used to live in.
Like over here.
Yeah, and the Raleigh Camp Road. Now that road goes all the way back down to the lake, and there's cabins back there you can rent.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and you see the road here that goes all the way back and down in the middle of the property. In front of those cabins. Yeah, that's the path all the way down to the lake.
Okay. But this is not Parsons Field. This is
no, Parsons Field.
Poland Springs.
That's Poland Springs. Parsons Field's in Parsons Field.
There you go. I think that's about it. Let's find a better one. I'll just take this off for a second. I'll see if I can find one with more complete. I was going to ask you, do you know where one is at? That would be a good. I just Googled Elan building maps, but I know this is Parsons Field.
Google
right?
70 number 5 road.
What is it called? I'm sorry.
70 number 5 road, Poland Springs, Maine.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And you should be able to zoom in and out of that to where you'd even see the other house up the road from there on 5.
It's gonna let me go to the ground level or not? Oh wait, hold on. Oh no, I don't want directions. Oh jeez, all right. But on my other device, it just goes boom. Okay, you're at the ground level. This one's like different. I'll get it in a second here, and I'll bring it up. All right, it's putting me right there. Don't want directions. Okay, there it is. All right, so I could click on that.
Yeah, you want to look down at it. It's the easiest way to describe it.
There we go. Yeah, I'm trying to get the satellite view, but it's not doing it for me. Okay, chat. Right. What do I do here? Let's try this. Okay, let me try that. Let me do this. Sorry for the delay here. Okay, there's that. It used to be. Oh, there. Okay, this is much better. Thank God.
There you go.
All right. All right. That's weird how that works. I really didn't do anything differently. Okay.
I've done that myself. I've been there.
Like, what in the world? Okay, so.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's the back of the main house.
Back of the main house.
Yeah, that's the main house.
That's the road. We just looked at this picture.
Same place you were just at. That's the schoolhouse. That's down the road. That's in the other house down the street.
Okay, so it just gave me these pictures out of the blue here. But let's go to here and see if I can actually get down on this.
Yeah, go down to the far left there, or the bottom of the screen, and click on that. Can't that do something? There you go. Now zoom.
All right.
Now you're into it.
Now
you get down and you can start seeing some stuff because it depends on the time of year when they take these pictures. Because they take them periodically. Those are the school buildings right there.
Okay, right here on top of this.
Right there are the school buildings.
Can I get even lower? I guess they don't drive the car over here.
No, there's roads there. There's a road right behind it. And there's a road right in front of it. You're in the school.
No, I mean the Google car. The Google car.
Oh, so no, I don't know how they do those. See that house right down there, though? Go back the other way. See that house right down? That house right there. Your pointer's right there. That's the house. That house there used to be a staff house.
Okay.
And that's right behind the facility where you're at now.
What's all this stuff?
I have no idea. Some guy's got a bunch of dogs out there and chickens and stuff like that. Goats.
Yeah, it looks like some wildlife going on.
Yeah, they send the goats over across the street. They eat the grass. That's how they cut the grass there. It's not a lie. It's a true story.
That's cool. I mean, at least you guys didn't have to mow the grass. Jeez.
No, that's not when we were there. That's since we've been gone. We mowed the grass when we were there.
I'm sorry.
No. They were like the built-in landscapers.
Oh, look, here's where I guess this is where you guys did all the sailing.
See, that's where
water skiing. It's like
right where you're seeing there. Those are the roofs of the cabins that you can rent down there right now. Those cabins have been there a long time, but those are cabins. You gotta go. Yeah, you go up a ways that way. You really can't see the lake. You gotta follow that road. See how that road goes into the woods now?
Yeah, yeah.
It goes in like that little V down there. That's you're right by the cabins, but you're not there.
So please register if you'd like to win a vacation here. Let's see. Do I get all these questions?
And if you zoom out of that, you can see the other house. If you zoom out and go back down 5.
Okay. I mean, I got these questions started, by the way, guys. I will get to them. I do have that. So yes, the questions will continue. We just wanted to break off here and make sure everybody understood what's going on with the layout of the land. So when we talk about these things, we know.
Yeah, go back down number 5 road there, and the other house is right there. You see a ball field? See that baseball field?
Right here?
Right there. There's a house right there. That's the other one. That's the other house.
Which house is this?
That was the modern house, the prefab they built in the 70s.
Okay, so that was the name of it, the modern house.
Like a lawn too. They called it the modern house.
Okay, so it was a lawn too.
Yep.
Okay.
And then that road goes back down. Those are all farmhouses. Those are just farmers. Those are people who just live on that road, and it goes all the way back down to Colbath, which is right here. Then Colbath, you take a left, and then you would go down back to the main road and get up to that road there. You take a right and a left, and back on the main highway. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Boom.
Yeah. There you go, the main highway. That was a 25 or 26 over there, something like that.
So yeah, so
imagine
Jeff,
running from that place. Imagine running away from
yeah,
that place. First,
I
you
would
gotta
have
get
been
through all
like,
those dense woods before you ever get up to upper Ring, which is that one road you see up there. That's upper Ring. You gotta go through all those dense woods just to get that one road, which is taking you nowhere anyway.
how hard would it have been to go like this route? Like if you like go out the back way
Yeah,
and
it
hit
was
this road over here.
brain damage. And then you got farmhouses that butt up to that road too. It was, you gotta look through those woods and then you'll see the farmhouses when you go towards that other road.
I probably would have headed this way. I probably would have gone like out that way and tried to cut across here.
But see, then you're just up here on another road, and you just go back to the lake if you go the wrong way. Otherwise, it's.
Well, I would have done that to throw them off. So I would have figured the trackers would have gone this way, thinking I was going to do the shortest route.
Let me tell you what, man. It doesn't look very big on the computer, but you get out there, that's a long distance from that road to the house. That's a long.
From here, okay.
Oh, that's not it's not for the faint at heart. You better be young and full of a lot of energy, because I'll tell you what, it's not what it looks like. It's not like walking across the field. That's for sure.
I like this tree line right here, though. The way this works.
Yeah, those are all farm fields.
Yeah, I see. I would have tried to get back here and then walk this tree line so I couldn't get seen from the road, but I knew I was going the right direction. And look, that's not that far.
It's so dark out there. It's so dark out there. There's no street lamps. You don't know where you're at.
You guys don't have flashlights either.
The only way you see the roads is either the moon or some headlights.
Oh, wait a minute.
Follow it back down. You go back across across the lake. There's a boat launch back there. That's all it is a bunch of lakes up there.
But to get out of town, you had to get over this way.
You had to get to 25 somewhere. And then 25, you think the rest of the tap seeing you. That's the bottling plant, probably.
Okay. Because I'm thinking, there's a bridge right there, not too far away. You could actually take the water line out.
Yeah, if you could. But still, where are you going to go? There's all dense woods all around it. It's a place you have to see to understand. It's just you're in the densest woods you've ever seen in your life. And here, you take the water line to where?
Get up to the tattoo studio.
You better be a qualified woodsman to be running around out there. It's not.
Yeah, no doubt.
Somebody from the big city, that's for sure.
I'm sure there's no animals out there either.
Oh, there's plenty of animals out there. God knows what's out there. Lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my! Who knows what's out there?
So yeah, you never know what's tucked behind the woods, man.
It could be a raccoon. It could be anything, man. These are
wild. That was
it.
This is everything. This is all of Elan right here.
32 acres. Yeah, they had 32 acres in that particular area right there. That 32.
Where's Parsons Field from here? Which one's Parsons Field?
Parsons Field's not there.
Oh, it's not. Where's it at?
It's in East Parsons Field, Maine.
So how far away is it?
45 minutes.
Oh, okay. So there is another.
Everything's 45 minutes from each other, no matter which way you go. 45 minutes, 45 minutes, no matter what. I don't know how it worked out that way, but that's what it is.
Okay, so there was another facility at a different location.
Yes.
So let's go to the next one. Where's the next one we need to get to?
That would be like, what was that? I think it was 425 Maple Crest, East Parsonsfield, Maine.
Okay. So figure this out. Okay, 425.
I think it's 425 Maple Crest, East Parsonsfield, Maine.
But it wasn't out of the ordinary for someone to be taken from one facility to another one.
Well, Parsonsfield, you didn't go to Parsonsfield unless you were going to Parsonsfield. There was no stopping in and touring the place. I mean, sometimes you would get people from the other main house might bring some stuff out there, supplies, but yeah, there wasn't a place you went to tour. It was like saying you went to county jail and just kind of walked around, hung out for an hour or two. That's not like that.
Now, let's see. Parsonsfield, Kent Street, Brockline, Maine, no. Parsons, no, that's.
You want 425 Maple Crest, East Parsonsfield, Maine.
Okay.
They should take you somewhere on Maple Crest. You should be able to get on Maple Crest or somewhere. 425 might be wrong, but I believe that's the address still.
For this. Oh, yeah, this looks like a baseball stadium. Let's see. Let me try this again. Let's see. Let's just do Maple Crest.
Maple Crest.
Parsons.
East Parsonsfield. East Parsonsfield. Maine.
Okay, East.
Parsonsfield, Maine.
we go. Here's a question. Why? Oh, I got super chat, $2 super chat from TR. Thank you so much. Was the horseback riding and canoeing a lie?
Yeah, just a stretch. They didn't have any horses, number one, and there were no canoes. So yeah,
Right. All the horses were being raced.
yeah, the horses were all the track. They weren't at the wells. I like the way you put that. Yeah, we had horses, but they were at the track, and we didn't own anyone. They were riding horses. That's
right. Hood and Sugarfoot.
Unless you're 4'9", you couldn't get at them anyway. Because if you're bigger than a jockey, you don't want to hurt the horse. Were there ever compared to other schools that did the same thing? Yeah, sure. There's a lot of them out there. Straits Incorporated. You got Circle Ranch, Dean Farms. There's a play at Provo Canyon in Utah. Hyde School. There's just rattle off. There's a bunch of them. Elan was the worst. I think Dover School in Florida, the Rottenberg Center, that was probably the worst. That's where kids were actually. I mean, they were taken in this place. They're called the White House Boys. They had their own little documentary and everything else, and they had a building that was white, and it was a correctional center for kids. And the place just, I mean, they take you in there. They'd whip you and beat you. And a lot of these kids never made it out of there, not alive. And they had a little cemetery there where they throw you back. It's pretty creepy. It's a creepy story. It really is scary. And I think Elan is, from my research at least, is the only place to compare it to as far as the violence went. You know, and people were beat up in Elan, and some did die. That's a true fact there. It just wasn't as pronounced as it was at the White House. And the White House, just Google them up. White House Boys on YouTube. It'll tell you a lot of stories about some stuff that you go, my God. Matter of fact, to this day, they're still digging up bodies there. So it's not a. And what was ever done about that? The Rothenberg Center still runs. So I don't know. There's places out there like it. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Or whoever GNX is.
There you go. There's the next one. I'm still looking this up. Do you know if they contracted a life insurance policy on you when you were young, as if they assumed you weren't going to make it to adulthood? P.S.
You know, you could put a life insurance policy on somebody, they never know you did it. And when you're young, they say sign this, sign that. You don't know what the hell you're signing. You're just signing things. It's possible. I wouldn't put it beyond them. It's not a bad thought. You know, right? Nothing like that escapes me for these people. It's possible. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know, man. Okay, we did that. Did the Elan School contribute to other schools in the locations? Did the Elan School contribute to other schools in other locations? I guess it said, did they have any partnerships, or did they?
No, they're all separate entities. I mean, I think there was some over the years later, there was some interaction as far as like sports, you know, stuff like that. They had the Elan Bucks, and they had a couple other little sports teams, I think, and they interacted with some of the schools. But no, Elan, you could interact with other school systems. There was just, you know, look where you're at, and they're going to deal with kids that are just regular kids in school systems. No, there was not a lot of local interaction. In later years, yes, there was some, but I really don't know what the extents were.
Thank you so much for your question. Definitely. Thank you so much. All right. Mickey says area is 33 acres large. Which one is that, Cool Frog?
Yeah, 33 acres. That's Poland Springs.
Okay, Poland Springs. Okay, got it.
Yeah, 33 acres.
All right, how's this looking?
Oh, did you find Maple Crest yet?
Yeah, I found that in Parsons Field. I didn't put the exact address in, but
just get us on that road. Now you got to zoom in a little bit more.
It took me about right here.
It's on a turn.
Oh, here you go. Then it's probably it right here.
No.
All right. There's
Get to Maple Crest. Get to Maple Crest. Go down Maple Crest.
Okay.
Keep going. Keep going. You know what? Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. So slow down. Slow down. Slow down. Yeah, keep going. You'll see it because it sits out in the open.
This way.
Right there. I think that might be it there. Zoom in. Yep, that's it.
Oh, really?
Yep,
okay. Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Yeah, that's Parsons Field. And the red part on the back There used to be big water tanks in there for water up there. And then there's water behind it too. There's spouts back there for the fire department right there in that little patch. The
Okay.
little white thing there.
Uh-huh.
Those are right in that area there. There's water spouts that come out of there. And there's tanks under there for water in case there's a fire.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, that's Parsonsfield, right on top of Mount Randall, and you're literally in the middle of goddamn nowhere. It's a little. Can't you get on? Can you get on street level with that? I think you can get on street level with it.
Can I? Okay.
Does it have a little guy you can drag on there or no?
I am doing this on Windows. I mean, usually, yeah, here it is, right here. Hold on. Come here, you. Get down there. No, you get down there. It's like, no, I don't. Even the little guy here, the Google guy doesn't want to go to Parsonsfield. It's like,
well, maybe you
it's
can't.
like,
Maybe
no, I heard about that place, dude. Don't try to put me over there.
Oh, it's a menacing looking place.
Yeah, it does look pretty intimidating. I can see it's like right on the end of the. Yeah, there's no. Why isn't it doing it? The guy's there.
And you're going straight up the mountain too. So you're at the top of a mountain right now. It's just it's menacing. And look at all the woods around there. I mean, that's dense, dude. That's dense, and it's all going down. You go running off to the side of that thing, you're good luck. Because when you stand in that one little patch during fall time, you look out there, it's a big valley. You can see this big valley down there.
Yeah, well, let me get a street view. Okay. Well, yeah. Okay, big valley.
Yeah, it's all a valley right down there. It's all a big valley down there to get back down to the main road. Yeah, you don't ever want to run away from there. You have to be out here. Look how terrain. The terrain.
Yeah, that's rough. How many people, like in comparison to Poland Springs to Parsons Field, how many people would run away? Like, I would guess that Poland Springs was
nobody that I know of. There was
ever tried to leave from here.
First of all, it was a locked house. It was hard to get out of. And number two, where are you going to go? I mean, I don't have to explain it to you. And back in the 70s, there was less than you would see now.
Yeah, you're not even close to anything in the highway.
There's nothing there, dude.
You got to get all the way here to get to something.
That's 45 minutes away to get even close to the water.
By car.
Yeah. By car.
Yeah,
you go all the way down here. These towns around there in York County, you got that. You got East Parsonsfield, you got Parsonsfield, you got Casco. Just all these little towns, and you don't know where you're at, and it's you only can walk so far. So they got Standish you got to go through, and Cornish, and there's just so many little towns. It's you got to steal a car.
TR, thank you so much for the $10, TR. Thank you so much, brother. Ever heard of Elk River Broadcasting School for Troubled Teens or Newport Academy in Ohio? Good or bad things?
No, I haven't. No.
Some of that perhaps he's familiar with from his area. I had a cousin who actually had a choice between I guess some kind of like military boot camp thing they were doing in the area at the time versus prison, and he took the boot camp thing.
Well, that's I guess that's the equivalent of a lot. I mean, for a younger year people, it's your equivalent to those those boot camp type tough love type things. I mean, that's kind of how they're packaged and sold.
It was a state run, yeah. But I talked to him about this recently, and he hadn't heard of Elan, so I sent him the documentary. I was like, you should check this out, man. So you could have ended up here, dude. He would have made it through. He's tough as nails, but
fact though, it is a true fact though. I mean, that's what people.
He's a lot like Jeff actually, but he's a little bit more rowdy redneck type.
It was a place that anybody could have went there.
Yeah.
You were there for what? You went to school, you smoked so much pot? You're kidding me, right? No. And then you look and go, well, they had a nanny, they had this, and they grew up on the East Coast, and they just didn't fit in the puzzle. Mom and dad were social people. You were a rebel. It wasn't working for anyone. And then you guys sent out there. That's how Michael Skeckel got sent up there. He just didn't fit in. You know, he's a cousin of the Kennedy. His father, Manfred Rushton, at the time, was probably one of the richest people in the country. Rushton, he owned coke. He owned the coke plants. Is what he owned. The coke is the ore they use, and that's where he made his money in the coke business and shipping. You know, and
Isn't that
Skakel,
crazy
there's an
that
example.
yeah. Isn't that crazy that we heard the other night that Joe Ritchie was supposedly intimidated by political families or something like that. Like, you know, he would give people special treatment. Did Skakel get any special treatment? Sounds like he got the crap beat out of him and a confession beaten into him.
Skakel got the shit kicked out of him, and I know his brothers very, very well, and I try to help them out when he was doing his appeal with some stuff. And I just brought one thing to realization with them, and I talked with their attorney a couple of times. And I said, Joe Ritchie was a narcissist and he was a terrorist. And if Joe Ritchie thought that he had some little rich kid like Rushton Skekel's kid there for a murder charge that he's confessing to, Joe Ritchie would have took that train and rode it till it fell off the tracks. He would have called up Rushton and asked him just to get out the checkbook, and he'd tell him how much he wants him to put on the check that he's going to send on a monthly basis on top of everything else. That's Joe Ritchie. Joe Ritchie would have never let the golden goose go like that. No way. It's just not Joe Ritchie's character.
Right. So he didn't take him to the racetrack and leave him there for
No, I'll tell you what. Joe Ritchie was the type of guy that if Skakel would have done that stuff, because Skakel was just too stupid to do that stuff. If you listen to some, I know the case so well. If you listen to him talk, that he went up into a tree and he was whacking off to her after he got back from his cousin's house from watching Monty Python, and then you find out that the girl was actually only like 150 yards away from where he was at in the tree, and she was already dead. The mother and her were fighting that night. The dog went outside, walked around, came back in because they found little blood prints, puppy prints in the house the next day. She claimed the windows were open. She was painting the rosettes on the windows, but yet she never heard no confrontation or nothing in the yard. That's where Kobe Bryant's cousin allegedly was there, and he was hanging out. And she said somebody else down the street, and yeah, that was a really twisted story there. But Michael Skakel was no more guilty than the man on the moon, in my opinion, at least. But there's something there that Monty should know all about, because Skakel came right after I left. He came months after I left. So
this is a guy from the Kennedy family.
If you didn't know the Michael Skakel story and you weren't aware of who the hell he was and what was going on, you weren't in Elan at that time. You just weren't. He was the only story in the 70s that went over the top of us. We were the very first lawsuit, the Elan 11. We were the very first lawsuit and the very first people to ever get pulled out of Elan by a state. So we were really Joe Ritchie's first big confrontation and head-on collision. Then came the Skakel case. And like I said, if Skakel would have really did this thing, or even confessed to doing this thing, Joe Ritchie would have rode that thing to the top of the mountain. That's just Joe Ritchie's character. That's how he is. And back in those days, the way I thought, I'd have done the same thing. Why would I want to turn this kid in and get him sent to prison when I can just goose his family? His family's got all the money in the world. And them, of all people, sure don't want nothing like this to come out. That's why it took so long. That's why nothing ever happened. It's true. Joe, no way did this guy ever do it. And he never confessed to anybody. That's all a lie. It's just a lie. And the ring was, and there's a case there where the ring was brought out, one of the most important families in the country at the time. You had the family, they brought up the ring, they brought up this, they brought up that, all this shit about Elan. Very provable, very acknowledged. Even Joe Ritchie said they had a boxing ring. They never did a thing about it. Tell me why. I don't know. Think about that for a minute. You have Joe Ritchie in the documentary saying, yeah, we have a boxing ring. No, it's not a boxing ring, but it's people. So he describes what it is. He describes why it's there. And then the court records of the Skakel case, it's described as being there. It's described Michael Skakel did, in fact, get put in the ring. Knowing all these things about Elan, the bad things they said about Elan, how come it still continued on after that? Nobody want to pick up that out of the story, or they're just worried about putting Skakel in prison?
Exactly. They wanted the drama, but they didn't want to fix the problem. They didn't want to put a solution.
And that's I guess, kind of an answer to that one person's question earlier. Well, how did it exist? You tell me how it existed. Did it ever get national attention? I don't think any better attention than the Kennedy family. Not in this country. That's like the Queen of England, man. It's just, You know, it don't get any better than that.
Well, no doubt, intimidation factor too. I mean, the Kennedys had a reputation, you know, and
Yep.
not that you know, some good, some bad, but they had a reputation, and they were formidable as a group, you know, as a family. That would have been I think a higher intimidation factor than
It would have
you
been a
know,
right. It would have been
a news broadcaster that you know
it would have
from
been a
a
ripe target, especially
ABC,
they weren't the direct Kennedys.
radio broadcaster from the war, you know.
His mom was a Kennedy, but his father was so wealthy. I mean, Rushton Skeckel. Go look up this guy sometime. He's just was ridiculously rich. Throughout the years, I think the money would dwindle to the wayside. Some of the brothers have told me, but they've all become successful themselves in their own rights and done things, you know. But the Skeckel family story is a very interesting story. Very interesting. How Rushton used to walk around with his golf club like it was a cane with his cocktail, and just the stories about the guy were just unbelievable. I believe the house is I don't know, the house is gone now. I know the Moxley house is gone, but it's a very interesting case to look at. It's a very interesting man to read about because he was very successful, extremely successful. To where Joe Ritchie, you'd have been a fool to let something like that get away from you. And all Russian wanted was peace and quiet. He didn't want any other stuff. What did it say? The case attracted publicity of Skeckel and the nephew of Ethel Kennedy. That's correct. That's the case. That's the Skeckel was Kennedy. That's the one who married Rushton. That she was a Kennedy, and then the senator Robert is the one who wrote the book. And I've talked to him a few times. He's a good guy too. But yeah, that's the whole Skeckel thing. That was Joe Ritchie would have took that thing. The family would still be counting the millions of dollars because his father had all the money. You know, I think at that time he was probably considered one of the richest people in the United States. So, you know, why would you let, especially a guy like Joe Ritchie, why would you let that get away from you? Was no more than a phone calls. Hey, you know, hey, Wayne, guess what, man? This is what your kid told me. I heard about the incident out where you live at. How should I handle this? Legally, I need to call somebody. I can't just not know this. Well, hang on for a minute. let me get down there. We'll talk about this. You know, damn well you would. You're not going to let me drag you and your whole family down like that. The publicity, the bullshit. You're not going to let that happen if you could possibly stop it from happening. And if it's a matter of giving me money when I want it or an X number of money, you got me. No problem. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. I got it. What do you want? Check? You want gold? You want cash? How do you need this done? Just to shut you up and make you go away. You know, Joe Ritchie's a type of, it's how he was. I mean, you just look at the character of Joe Ritchie. He was anything but an upstanding person, you know. So to not think that he wouldn't blackmail Rushton Skeckel is you really haven't read much about Joe Ritchie. That would be like that would be like his dream cow. That'd be my dream cow if I were, Jesus Christ. Because legally,
it sounds like he would have made something up anyways. I mean, shit.
Oh, come on, dude. You're mandated by law to report that. You can't have a person in a treatment facility confess to doing something like a murder, although you have your Privacy Act, your HIPAA laws. If it's something that's criminal, like a murder, rapes, you're bound by law to report it. You know, let the courts figure out how you found out. Debate, well, he's in a mental health facility, you shouldn't listen to him. But you have to bring it to light. You can't just let it go. That's why it was such a big deal for Joe Ritchie to die. And, you know, they want him. And Joe Ritchie wasn't there when he got his general meeting. How the hell would Joe Ritchie know what he said? You know, so why would you need him? Because they wanted the owner of the place to say, I know this. And Joe Ritchie refused all the way to his grave. He fought the subpoena. He said, I ain't going to do that. I don't know nothing about it. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe Rushton did send him a check just to say nothing about it. But I don't know. I just can't see him letting a big fish like that get away. It wouldn't make no sense.
Yeah.
That was Joe Ritchie. Rushton could have made you. You're already a millionaire. He could have made you more than a millionaire. This guy could, and never felt the weight of it. This, like I said, he has so much money. Just ridiculous amounts of money. They lived in Greenwich, Connecticut, in a gated community with a big fancy house. And I mean, everything one person could possibly think of. There's documentaries about the family. You should watch one and you'll be like, wow. Yeah, I mean, it's Fantasy Island, man. It was total Fantasy Island. Then when Kobe Bryant's talking about it, and he was with the guys that night, it was Halloween and Martha Moxley and this and that. You know, you're forgetting the fact you're talking about Connecticut in a gated community, in a gated white community in the 70s, and you're black and you're just walking around. Okay, I got it. Sure. with bed sheets, of course. Got the bed sheets with you. His story just was such, you could tell, was just such bullshit. First of all, just knowing the years, it's probably unlikely, very unlikely, unless your parents were living guests, living servants. I'm not being a racist. It's just that's kind of how times were then. You wouldn't even be in the neighborhood, and for their private security to be driving around like they do in there, you would have stood out like a sore thumb, especially with bed sheets under your arm. Who's this guy? That's where a lot of that story really, really fell apart hard on him. It made no sense. It made no sense at all. And then when they found the body the next day, the kids were coming home from school. Some kids were coming home, not her kids, but some kids were coming home from school. And they noticed her underneath the evergreen tree with a sheet over the top of her. And the police were in the house with her mother, Martha, and they were talking to her, and they said, I think they think they found her. Where's she at? Well, she's outside in the yard. So she had her friend go outside to see if Martha was under the tree. And why wouldn't the mother of any parent, especially the mother bear, would go racing out there? Not her. No. She sat on the couch, right, just waited until the other woman came back. And these are the documented stories. These aren't something I made up. These are tales from Martha Moxley's mother herself, Dorothy. These are all the stuff they said. And it's just so bizarre. It's so bizarre. The night before, there was a conversation between her and her mother, and they were fighting and arguing, and it was I forgot what they called it. It was Halloween night, hazing night or something like that. So the long story short is she left the house on a bad note with her mother anyway. And Martha was, she was a young little rich girl, and her and her mother just battled from what they said. She got along well with her father, but when you do history searches on him, you only see one picture of her and her father together, nothing else. And her father was an attorney in New York. If you listen to the case, her mother is always the one that's done the talking, with her brother standing right up underneath her wing. You never see the father talk about this, ever, ever, ever. And he was a very powerful attorney in New York. So if anybody could really light the flare, it's a guy like him. But no, she's the only one that ever did the talking. I firmly believe it was the mother. And she covering the body with a sheet, that's a sign of remorse. It's a sign of guilt. That's very common in that type of murders. They're done like that. It's a common feature. So there's just too much there. You had the windows open that night, and you didn't hear nobody beating your daughter with a golf club. She didn't go down the first hit. You hear nothing. Dog didn't bark, nothing. There's things that it's just too hard to believe. And the bed sheet came from the Martha house. That's the best part of it. So somebody came into your house and took one of your bed sheets. How do they even know where your bed sheets are? And then they couldn't find the bed sheet afterwards. They even got a thread count on it to see, because it's an exclusive neighborhood and thread counts, and people had their sheets laundered and stuff. Nobody did their own laundry. Where you could at least tie it to a house, no. All they said was there was a Tony Penna golf club, which the Skeckles had a set of Tony Penna golf clubs. And but they were known to just leave them around the yard like nothing, like kids leave baseballs. It's just, they were always scattered all over the place. So anybody walking through could have picked up that golf club and smacked her with it. My theory is that she got home, she was late, started talking crazy to her mom. Her mom saw that golf club, picked it up. She took it from her and just smacked the shit out of her with it. And before it was done, fit of rage, it was just too late. And then she got guilt. She covers the body with a bed sheet and goes back inside the house like nothing ever happened. That's the best theory I can come up with that. But as far as Skeckle doing it, no. You already have an alibi. You're watching Monty Python 20 miles away at your cousin's house. Why would you come home and see you whacked off in the tree? And she's 200 yards away from you. That doesn't even make good sense, even for a dummy. And that's the true confessions. Those are the confessions they say that he did. I just don't believe that. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And these are the confessions. These are
to back off in a tree.
And these aren't cop confessions. These are Elan confessions. These are ones they allegedly said it. And Coleman and Higgins, they're both drug addicts at the time. They're both dead now, as a matter of fact. They died over the years. But Coleman was a drug addict. He testified on the stand. He admitted he was under heroin. But yet this just continued on. And them guys being dead, when the appeal came around, technically they could have used their testimony still, but there was so much stuff by that point. And I gave these people so many files and so much of this to just really help back up their point that, I don't know, it just seemed to never come back up. And he got, they never tried him again. But I think it was helpful that a lot of the Elan stuff was coming out then, where it was indisputable where he was at, which really disputes the credibility of anybody that was ever there. and what they ever might have said. His place was obviously off the chain. So those testimonies, I think, became kind of weak. And that's the only thing they had was that. Without those Elan testimonies, they had nothing. Nothing. They didn't have a fingerprint. They didn't have DNA and nothing. Nothing. So I don't know. Skeckel was found guilty of the murder since 20 years, yes, to life. And after, I think it was 20 years he spent, then he got out.
Wow. 20 years on a beaten confession. That wasn't even, did he make sense?
Nope. Yeah, people say he did it. Yeah, people say he did. I don't believe he did. I honestly don't. And I've looked at that case inside and out. I've read the records. I've read the reports. I've talked with the family. And it's just none of the pieces go together. And if you know anything about life or just good common sense, the stuff that they were putting together just didn't fit. Then you got Mike Fulmer, who's just a stone liar anyway, from the OJ case and everything else. And, he's definitely not your stamp of approval and credibility. And he was working the case. There was so much there that just didn't make any sense.
They did get freed.
Skeckel was a good scapegoat. So,
he did go to prison for a while, right?
What's that, Skeckel? Yeah, he was there for 20 years, I think, almost. Then they vacated after on the retrial. They vacated and dismissed it.
Yep. Well, he did go, for 20 years.
Oh no, he did go. Yeah, no, he left for a while. Yeah, he was not. Yeah, no, he got screwed.
Imagine.
I think he got screwed. I don't know if
after going through Elan too, you have to go to prison for 20 years.
I don't know if he ever got an exoneration letter. That I've never found out, because we got the exoneration letter, then you can sue the state and get some money out of it. Otherwise, you just blew 20 years, man. It's just the way it is. Because they have to give you an exoneration letter. That's what you have to get to sue somebody. So,
man, oh man. Yeah, so there's another part of the story you probably won't ever hear anywhere else, but right here from Mr. Mark Babitz, who was again in the background doing his thing, helping people and putting things right in the world as best he can.
Trying to. I mean, at least discrediting these people, knowing that when this guy went to prison all this time, and he's really if it happened, it happened. That I can't tell you. I wasn't there. I don't know. But the way it was put together, on what they put it together on. Wait a minute, this is the glue on the seams. These felonious, lying heroin addicts. You got to be joking. You got to be joking. You don't have somebody in the bushes saw him or nothing, no fingerprints, nothing better than a golf club. These kids are really reckless kids. These are reckless rich kids. They had no respect for anything. They threw shit here, throw stuff there, scratched the car. They don't care. So, and I grew up in a suburb that was kind of like that too, that, we had a lot of people with money, and, it wasn't, nobody really cared. They left bikes in the yard, left stuff here, left there. I understood the scenery. And to tag on a guy because of a set of golf clubs that didn't even belong to him, they're his mother's golf clubs, as a matter of fact. What the hell are you talking about? And then this guy saw him, he's whacking off in a tree. You're joking, right? The guy already knows he has an alibi. He's not entirely stupid, I wouldn't think, or his lawyer would at least be smart enough to tell him, shut your mouth at this point. And he's going to confess to doing that, knowing that this girl's dead over there. But then what's he doing in the tree if she's dead over there? Because the time of death doesn't jive with him being in the tree, and it just doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, you start hearing stuff like that, it's like this. It makes no sense. What he went in the tree and did this, looking into her window, thinking about her, yet he killed her earlier, and she's laying in the pine tree 200 yards away. Those stories don't go together. It just doesn't. So, I don't know. Thank God he's out of prison, and hope his life came together for him. But the evidence they put out there with the witnesses they put out there to his alleged confession, I did everything I possibly could to feed as much information to these people. And I don't know if it worked or it didn't work, but something worked for this guy and got him out of that. So that's all you can say.
Yep. Absolutely.
All the Elan stuff going on, anybody that would even look into Elan at that point had to realize that, well, wait a minute, now this is so sketchy here. These people, the witnesses, it's just, I don't know, man. This is just it doesn't. This doesn't look good. We got 20 years out of the guy. Let's get rid of this and just let it go.
Yeah.
That's
So,
exactly what happened. Because going back now, it's just like, come on now.
so I'll tell you what, in our final minutes here, I wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
So things have come this far. You've raised a lot of awareness in the past 10 years or more about the troubled teen industry. It's come to a great place as far as awareness goes, and a lot of good results have happened. Elan's no longer there. And the people, the perpetrators have felt the cold hand of justice fall on them. But yet there's still, I've heard you both, Jeff and yourself, say that there's still a lot of this going on in America today. Where does this movement go from here? Where does the troubled teen industry, the people that are fighting back against them,
you
where does
continue
it go, and what's the future of it?
You continue blasting the internet. I'll never say honestly what the true response should be, because then people want to take you to court and sue you or say you incited something. But you have to bring the game to these places. You find out about them just by looking around, just by researching them. You look up just for lawsuits, such and such camp or such and such school lawsuits. That's just how you look it up. Just Google it like that. And anything that pops up in that school, you'll start to see some things. If you see irregularities, I should say, you start digging and you start digging. Then you start exposing them on the internet. And these days on the internet, it's so easy to put them in these categories. And you get these people and you expose them. And then you take past schools and you put it with them. And your whole goal is to just keep the awareness on the school and shake them down. It's not that difficult. It really isn't. Because there's some stuff you can't hide court records. It's all public information. So if you're getting sued by a state or an insurance company or whatever it is, it's going to pop up. You find staff members there that you don't think are quite on the up and up. You can do sex offender searches and a lot of different searches on people without any real cost or anything like that. Just look them up. It's not that hard of a thing to do. It's just when you find out about places like this, and you just bring them out and expose them. That's how you kind of stop it, because the government's not going to do anything to stop it. That's apparent. But if you torpedo them constantly, or you bring their things out, or you find out that they have 2 child molesters that work there, that stuff people don't want you to know. They really don't. And a lot of these places now are corporately owned, and they own a number of different places. They may have different names on them, but they own numbers of places, to where it's bad for business. Nobody's going to send their kid to a place that this happened or that happened or this guy worked at, this guy worked. It's just the awareness. That's all you do, is keep pushing it. It's a slow train, but it works. Eventually, you get to the station.
Absolutely. And the entire story tonight and everything Mark's been talking about is again is a microcosm of the bigger things of what we're talking about on this channel. The main number one point of this channel: solution culture, right? How to take responsibility for the things that we can, and how to do what we can do to add to the immersive movement to do things to provide a solution, right? And so in this little example here we've seen many different examples of how that operates and how that looks when it's successful, and how it functions. And the story about the shutdown of Elan and what Mark and the survivors of Elan and others were able to do is remarkable, in the sense that it is a lesson again for us all to take into consideration about how we address certain things like grooming in schools, how we address certain things like, corruption in local governments and in elections and in other things that could possibly happen that we need to be in front of, that we can't rely on government to solve our problems for us. It's not the way this country is designed.
We go back to what I said before. You got to be your fan. You got to be the one that runs your life. You can't let other people run it for you, and you can't wait for somebody to help you. You have to be proactive in life. And you look like you have a good group of people here that have some good sense and they understand what's going on. And it's just use your skills. Do what you do best.
Absolutely. Everybody here is a winner. And by the way, speaking of winners, the winner circle is now open. I do have memberships to the channel. So if you'd like to get down on being part of the winner circle and help support the channel, please feel free to join and become a member. I would love to have you. You get to come to the Discord and you get exclusive content and of course internet breaking trivia. We'll be there and interviews and other things, special events, Easter egg hunts, brunch, things of these natures. Whatever kind of crazy stuff we can think of. We'll go get a cabin in Maine up there. We'll hang out and go up to the property at night and see what's going on there. Yeah, we'll go in the summertime though. We'll do stuff, man. We'll do stuff because we're winners. We're gonna hang out.
It means
so Bev,
all the time.
The join button's not available, really? Oh, geez, another boomer moment.
What's that?
I thought I had everything set up. No, he's my friend Cool Frog was telling me that the join button for that is not there for some reason, and I swear I got it set up before this week. Oh boy, always fun. The scramble. Let me see if I can actually fix this while we're here. Mark,
I'm gonna let you go, Bart. You have a wonderful night. God bless you.
Hold on, we're just about out of here, man. I'm gonna go ahead and close it up right now. Right. But if you got time to hang out for a second, I'd like to say proper goodbyes behind the scenes, if that's all right.
Okay, sure. All right,
yeah. But yeah, let me go ahead and thank everybody. Hey, everybody. Big M's in the chat for Mark. Thank him very much for coming back here. We appreciate it. And thank you, Gene. You rock, man. You rock.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much for being here and being part of this, man. We're definitely going to have you back in the future for more talks, man. You're a great person. I enjoy your company, and I've enjoyed very much getting to know you, sir.
I appreciate that, man. I really appreciate what you do and how you get out there and how you're not afraid to just talk to people and just be open. It's a positive thing and an important thing in life right now. People have to communicate. They really do.
Absolutely, man. And you have a lot to teach us, sir. Thank you so much. Take care.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Go. Take care. Thank you. God bless you.